You guys know everything United States, everything for the United States, I'm for. You guys know that I'm a conservative, I'm a Republican. Um, not on the left, I'm on the right. So I'm all for no women no men in women's sports, no, none of that foolishness. I'm just a guy. So today, President Trump announced like a trade deal with the UK. For years now, the United States and UK, we've been allies since the world wars. We've been on their side, they've been on our sides. That's one of our major allies. So I think whatever it takes for each government to come to a sit down, I think both countries are always going to be willing to do that. So to see the United States and the United Kingdom come together, because two of the world's strongest military countries, and to see these two countries come together to ash things out. And again, for years, you guys have known that, like President Trump has said, other countries have taken advantage of us, and he just kind of wants it on a more even keel. You know what I mean? So it's no longer we're dishing out billions and billions of dollars to other countries while other countries are not taking our goods. They're sending their goods here. We're paying high prices for it while, our countries lose and their country gains. So this trade deal between the United States and the UK is a major milestone for us. As you guys know, whether you guys believe it or not, Europe doesn't really take stuff from us. They think that the things, especially food and goods that comes out of the United States, they think it's second class. They think our food is of a lesser quality. They think their food is better, and it is absolutely true. I'm only saying this because my ex-wife is Turkish, and the way she talk about their food, how fresh it is and how it tastes better, but yet still they all want to come and live in the United States, most of them. I wouldn't say most of them, a lot of them. So with that said, guys, we're just gonna watch the trade deal with Donald Trump as he speaks to the United Kingdom Prime Minister. And from a British system. I'm Jamaica, so we have a prime minister also. So they have a cabinet, they have two parties. You know, they go back and forth about the cabinet, the budget, and all that stuff. So I'm pretty familiar with the UK system. So we had a British system. So I went to a primary, secondary, tertiary school in Jamaica. So what's out, Donut King? Definitely shout out. I always try to shout out for everybody joining the live. I appreciate every last one of you. Thank you guys. Appreciate you guys coming into the live. So today, again, as usual, like I like to do, is share my experience. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Share me watching the speech as President Trump as with the UK Prime Minister. So with that said, guys, we're gonna, without further ado, we're just gonna watch this and a couple more videos. I just like to watch all. I just like to see what goes on in my country and around the rest of the world. I appreciate it and thank all of you guys. If you guys have not subscribed to my channel, feel free to go ahead and do so. I'm Mr. Black Mama 305, and thank you. Let's get it.
The UK joins the United States in affirming that reciprocity and fairness is an essential and vital principle of international trade. The deal includes billions of dollars of increased market access for American exports, especially in agriculture, dramatically increasing access for American beef, ethanol, and virtually all of the products produced by our grape farmers. And our Secretary, as you know, of Agriculture is here. Brooke, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, sir.
You'll let the farmers know. In addition, the UK will reduce or eliminate numerous non-tariff barriers that unfairly discriminated against American products, but this is now turning out, I think, really to be a great deal for both countries, because it'll be really great for the UK also. So they're opening up the country. Their country is a little closed, and we appreciate that. They'll also be fast-tracking American goods through their customs process, so our exports go to a very, very quick form of approval, and there won't be any red tape. Things are going to move very quickly both ways. The final details are being written up in the coming weeks. We'll have it all very conclusive, but the actual deal is a very conclusive one. We think just about everything's been approved. Uh, so good for both countries, and we'll also receive new market access for American chemicals, machinery, and many other industrial products that weren't allowed. And they'll end up getting products that they'll be able to price, and if they like them better, and we make great products, they'll be buying those products, but they were not available in the UK. Furthermore, in a historic step, the deal includes plans that will bring the United Kingdom into the economic security alignment with the United States. That's the first of its kind. So we have a big economic security blanket, and it's very important, and we feel very, very comfortable with that because it's been a great ally, truly one of our great allies. A lot of people say our greatest ally. I don't want to insult people by saying that, but I can say it's certainly one of our greatest, and right at the top, and they're the first one we're talking about. And by the way, we have many meetings planned today and tomorrow, and every country wants to be making deals. And we have a meeting, as you know, Scott will be going over to Switzerland on Saturday, and that'll be very, very interesting. We'll find out. I think they want to make a deal very badly too. Both countries have agreed that the economic security is national security, and will be working together as allies to ensure that we have a strong industrial base, appropriate export controls, and protections for key technologies and industries like steel. Steel is a big factor. Both countries will become stronger with steel and things necessary for military. You know, we used to build ships and other things literally at a level that nobody's ever seen, and we haven't, we've eased up, and I would say that the UK certainly eased up, but now we're going to be uneasing both, and we work together. Once again, I want to thank Prime Minister Starmer. He's been terrific for his partnership in this matter. The special relationship and external bond, it's really an external and an internal bond between our two countries will soon be stronger than ever before. And we really do. We have a great relationship. I want to just say that the representatives of UK have been so professional, and it's been an honor doing business with all of them, and in particular the Prime Minister. And I'd like to introduce him now to say a few words. Mr. Prime Minister, please take it away.
Thank you, Mr. President, Donald. And this is a really fantastic, historic day in which we can announce this deal between our two great countries. And I think it's a real tribute to the history that we have of working so closely together. Can I pay tribute, Donald, to your negotiating team as well, particularly Howard and Jameson, who've done an incredible job, a very professional job, and my team as well. Two negotiating teams have worked at pace now for a number of weeks to bring in this deal today. Really important deal. This is going to boost trade between and across our countries. It's going to not only protect jobs but create jobs, opening market access. And as you say, Donald, the timing couldn't be more apt, because not only was it 80 years ago today that victory came for Europe after and at the end of the Second World War, but of course on that day the UK and the US stood together as the closest of allies. Donald, I think even down to the hour, because you may or may not know that it was about this time of day, exactly 80 years ago, that Winston Churchill announced victory in Europe, and that led to great celebrations across Europe, across America, but particularly in the United Kingdom. Literally people going out into the street, putting bunting up, going up to the palace, and so to be able to announce this great deal on the same day, 80 years forward, almost at the same hour, and as we were 80 years ago, with the UK and the US standing side by side, I think is incredibly important and makes this truly historic. That close relationship has endured over those 80 years. As you know, Donald, when it comes to defence and security and intelligence sharing, of course, there are no two countries that are to new and important territory by adding trade and the economy to the closeness of our relationship. It is built, as you say, on those notions of fairness and reciprocal arrangements. We've always had a fair and balanced arrangement between our countries. This builds on that, hugely important for sectors like car manufacturing and for steel and aluminium and so many others. And yes, we could finish ironing out some of the details, but there's a fantastic platform here, including, of course, on the tech side, where I think I'm right in saying we're the only two Western countries with trillion-dollar sectors when it comes to tech. And in the end, it comes down to, as you say, Donald, economic security is national security. On national security, we've been absolutely the closest of allies for so many years, keeping the peace through that close alliance, that friendship. And now we add to that this deal on trade and the economy. And I want to thank you for your leadership on that, Donald, and for the way in which your team have negotiated this. I'm so pleased that we've got this deal, we've finalised it, and we've built an incredible platform for the future. So thank you so much. Donald, I'm now going to go and do a press conference. I think you have your press in with you. But on the details, I think if you've got Howard, we can deal with that through one of my team.
That's great. Well, Mr. Prime Minister, thank you very much. It's an honor. We're going to have a continued, maybe a better relationship than ever before. You know, I don't know if the media knows, but the U.S. and UK have been working for years to try and make a deal. And it never quite got there.
Yeah.
It did with this Prime Minister. So I want to just congratulate you.
Well, with this President, this Prime Minister, we've managed to achieve what many people have tried to achieve for many years. And I'm really pleased, and it feels completely historic and on a special 80-year anniversary as well. So, Donald, thank you so much. It's really good to have got this deal over the line. Tribute to both teams, tribute to our countries, and tribute to your leadership.
Well, it really is a great thing. And you go do your press conference, and I'll see you soon. Maybe speak to you later. But thank you very much. An incredible thing. I can't tell you that for so many years, even as I sat, everybody talked and talked and talked about a deal with, it just seemed like a natural deal, but it was not done. But now it was done with us. So I feel very proud to have been a part of it. Keir, thank you very much.
Thanks, Donald, and we'll speak again soon.
Very good. So long. Bye. Why don't I do this? Why don't I have our Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick, give a little description of the deal pretty quick, and then the good side, the very nice side, we'll be speaking about it also, maybe, from so you get a pretty equal. I think it's a very, it's just been a deal that was, we thought very complicated. It became very simple. It's opening up the country that we really didn't have the kind of access to that I would have thought. I was surprised. I think it's why the deal never got done before. It was, you know, they've been working on this deal for 25 years, and we got it done, and we got it done. Really, it's going to be great for both countries. So, Sal, if you could go, and then somebody else, you may have, you'll pick whoever you want who'd like to do it. I have a feeling you're going to do it, right? So you guys go ahead, and then we'll take questions right after that. But I think you'll get a pretty good understanding of how big it is. It's a very large deal, very big deal. And Howard, go ahead.
So the UK is the 6th largest economy in the world and the 4th largest that we export to, right? So it's a huge market, a top 10 market. If you remember Liberation Day, they were at 10% because we have balanced trade with the UK, right? They say they have a surplus, but of course that counts gold bullion, which is, so let's just call it balanced trade. So how do you open up a market in balanced trade? People think it's impossible. They've always thought it was impossible until President Trump came on the scene and changed the way things work. So here's what we've done. We've opened up new market access, ethanol, beef, machinery, all the agricultural products. They've agreed to open their markets, and that will add $5 billion of opportunity to American exporters. So the question is, why would they do that now? Because they've never done it before, and we still have a 10% tariff on, which will produce $6 billion of revenue for the United States. So the idea was, how do they keep their jobs, protect their economy, and do the best for their people while opening the market for us? And the ways they studied it, their team was exceptional, and they tried to figure out the markets that they're importing from other people and try to send them over to America. So why were they always favoring others and not us? And what they've done is they've found ways to do that so that we have new access, right? But the UK workers are protected, and that was the balance. So we did a deal with them in automobiles, and if you're not building here, we charge you a 25% tariff. But the president, and by the way, I want to make this clear, while Jameson and I worked hard, this was the president's deal. And people think, oh, that's not the way it works. If you got to sit next to him, I have the best deal maker to my left. And if you don't think that we take advantage of him calling the prime minister and getting that deal done, you don't understand who's the president of the United States. So he's the closer. He gets deals done that we could never get done because he understands business, he understands deals, and that's why we're here today. So he agreed they could send 100,000 cars into America and only pay a 10% tariff. And that protects their car industry. And remember, we do 16 million cars a year. So this is only like 0.6%. But for the UK auto people, this is tens of thousands of jobs that the president agreed that he would protect for them. So he made that deal, right? Then steel and aluminum, right? Their steel business has been destroyed like everybody else has been destroyed by people dumping steel into their markets. And British Steel had announced it was closing down. So the British government, as part of this deal, nationalized British Steel, and they're going to match the kinds of models we do. They'll put tariffs on, they'll put quotas on. They want to do it with America so they can be part of the resurgence of steel and aluminum in America, and that saves them, again, thousands and thousands of jobs. So if you go step by step, aero and commercial planes, they sell Rolls-Royce engines to Boeing. We've agreed to let Rolls-Royce engines and those kind of plane parts to come over tariff-free. And what you're going to hear today is there's going to be an announcement in the UK that they are buying $10 billion worth of Boeing planes later today, but I'm going to let the name of the airline announce it because that's theirs to do. But part of this deal was always to do it together and to do it strong, and you can see the numbers on this board. Everything about this board works exceptionally well for the United States of America. It lays out the plan that you can work with us in autos, you can work with us with aero and commercial, you can work with us in pharmaceuticals if you have a supply chain that is secure and protected in national security. So we feel really good about the deal. You've heard the Prime Minister, he feels really good about the deal, right? And we started at 10% and we ended at 10%, and the market for America is better, and this is a perfect example of why Donald Trump produced Liberation Day. People don't understand. He gets things done in a matter of time. This would have taken Jameson and I 3 years, maybe. And instead, we got it done in 45 days, certainly, because we worked for Donald Trump. So, Jameson, my partner in all this, maybe Jameson, you'd like to talk a little, and then we'll turn it over to the UK.
Sure, happy to do that. Everyone has great remarks. I just have to echo the President and the Prime Minister when we talk about VE Day. This is something we've been waiting for decades, and there is no more appropriate day to do this. And when we step back and we look back a few weeks from now, or months from now, or years from now, we'll look back at this day and better appreciate the significance, I think. And I'll just say as well, in terms of negotiating, I mean, the UK negotiators, we've got one right here, did an incredible job, right? This is why you win wars, right? When you act like this, and the ambassador, he knows more about trade than a lot of us here based on his background. And I would say on this deal, Mr. President, what we've shown is that it is time to change the way we do trade. People said we couldn't do a global tariff. We did a global tariff. They said no one would want to deal with us. People want to deal. They said no one would give offers. You saw that stack of offers I showed you yesterday of all those countries. Said we wouldn't get deals, and here we are with the deal with the 6th largest economy. We've agreed to have fair and reciprocal trade, and we've done it in record time.
Thank you very much, sir.
Great job.
Thanks, sir.
Mr. Anderson, please.
Well, Mr. President, thank you very much indeed in hosting us this morning. And thank you very much indeed also for that very typical 11th hour intervention by you with your phone call to the President demanding even more out of this deal than any of us expected. So thank you for that. The Prime Minister was delighted, obviously, to take that call later tonight. But you took it to another level, and I think the point I would make is twofold. One is that if we're going to rebalance and rebuild international trade in a way that serves all our interests, then we're better doing that together than separately and apart, and that's what we're on a mission to do. But secondly, you've done what you said you would do. You said to the Prime Minister when he came and we visited in the Oval that you would do a good trade deal with the United Kingdom, that you would do it at pace, and that we would be first. And you have delivered that. You've been true to your word. So thank you very much indeed for that. For us, it's not the end. It's it's the end just of the beginning. I mean, there is yet more we can do in reducing tariffs and trade barriers so as to open up our markets to each other even more than we're agreeing to do today. But it also provides us with the platform, the springboard, to do what I think will be even more valuable for both our countries in the future, and that's creating a technology partnership between the United States and the United Kingdom so that we can harness science and technology in order to create future industries and future jobs. And to do that together in the way we work so closely already in the national security and defense area, we can just take that to yet further areas of science, enterprise and endeavor. So we're looking forward to doing that in the coming months. You've launched us extremely well today. It just, in my view, as the Prime Minister has said, just shows what two countries who trust each other, who are confident in each other and are familiar with each other can do, not just for ourselves, but for those in the rest of the world who need to benefit from a bigger and better international trading system.
Thank you very much. It was beautifully stated. What a beautiful accent.
I'd like to have that accent. Thank you. My mother would be proud. Thank you very much. Any questions?
James Matthews from Sky News.
Yes.
Can I ask, why Britain and why now? And you describe this deal as a full and comprehensive deal, and yet we just are from the sort of the end of the beginning. Clearly, there's much more work still to do. With respect, are you overstating the reach and significance of this deal? Because you're a president who needs a result at a difficult time.
I think that it's a great deal for both parties. It's for us. We're opened up. I didn't know how closed it was. Quite closed, the market, as you know, the UK, and it opens up a tremendous market for us, and it works out very well, and a lot of assets. You see the chart, and those are tremendous assets. But we've been trying, and when you say why us, meaning your country, we've been trying for years, and they've been trying for years to make a deal, including when I was in the first term. It would always be people talking, but they weren't getting it done. But for 25 years before that, they were trying always to make a deal, a very significant deal. I actually, until I looked at the numbers, I didn't realize this is a very conclusive deal, but we think we can grow it even from that. But this is a maxed out deal, not like you said it. You said it really incorrectly. This is a maxed out deal that we're going to make bigger, and we make it bigger through growth. But we have tremendous assets involved. I was surprised to see how big your country is in trade. Actually, one of the biggest in technology and so many other things. It's agriculture. I really didn't know. It's depending on your definition, it's from 4 to 5 to 6. That's pretty big in the world. So I was very impressed by that. But we're going to take it to new levels. It's a very big deal right now, but I think it is going to grow just of its own volition. It's going to grow, and over time there'll be changes made. There'll be adjustments made because we're flexible. We'll see things that we can do even better. but it's very conclusive, and we think everyone's going to be happy, and the people of your country are going to be very impressed with the result, and they'll be able to buy from more people. They'll be able to price things differently. They'll be able to get some products that aren't available to them now that we make better than anybody in the world. And it's just something that it's a great thing that it came together. It's so nice because we have many countries want to make a deal, and many countries are very unhappy that we happen to choose this one, to be honest with you. But long time, our oldest ally, or just about, because a couple of people claim that too, but let's put it right at the top. I think it's going to be something very special for UK and special for the United States. Well, very close. We have numerous deals. I know Howard's going back. As soon as this is finished, your press conference, he's got numerous. And Scott, who's right over here, who's fantastic, by the way. You were great on television this morning. I watched you. You gave them a little lesson in the world and economics. But Scott's going to be going to Switzerland, meeting with China. And, you know, they very much want to make a deal. We can all play games. Who made the first call? Who didn't make the... It doesn't matter. It only matters what happens in that room. But I will tell you that China very much wants to make a deal. We'll see how that works out. Every country throughout the last 40, 50 years has literally ripped off the United States on trade, on military, on protection, on all the different things. And we are now making fair deals. And in this case, it's great because we really weren't very much involved. You have the European Union, which is, I think you made the right decision years ago. I don't know if you remember, I was opening up Turnberry the day that you were voting. And they asked me, would it happen or would it not happen? I said, no, I think they're going to go their own separate way. I think it's better for them. And they did. I think it's going to end up being a very smart decision. But a big part of that decision was always that you'd be able to make a deal with the United States. And they were unable to do that. But now they made it. And it's a tremendous, it's very important. That was always a big part of your decision on Brexit. And they were never able to make that deal. It was a tough one. And this one it's amazing with time. This one just went very smoothly, went quickly and smoothly, and a lot of common sense, as I like to say. There's tremendous common sense, but it's going to make your country much bigger in terms of trade, and it's going to make our country much bigger in terms of trade, too. Yes, it is. Go ahead, behind you.
Oh, yeah.
No, we'll get you.
BBC, thank you, President. You mentioned the...
You with who?
The BBC.
Oh, good. Very nice. They treat me beautifully.
You mentioned beef exports. The UK currently doesn't accept American beef because of its own food standards. Are you calling on the UK to accept all American beef and chicken products?
Well, I think they'll take what they want. We have plenty of it. We have every type. We have every classification you can have. As you know, Bobby Kennedy is doing a tremendous job, and he's, I think, probably heading toward your system with no chemical, no this, no that. I think we're heading that way, it seems to be. And but we have that also. So we're a very big country. We have a lot of beef. We're a very big country, so it'll be great. Yes. Yes.
You want me to jump in?
Yes.
Let's talk about American beef really quickly, and it can't be understated. I'm Brooke Rollins, by the way, how important this deal is and what this means to American farmers and ranchers. Specific to the beef, this is going to exponentially increase our beef exports. And to be very clear, American beef is the safest, the best quality, and the crown jewel of American agriculture for the world. So I think a really important part of this deal isn't just the ethanol reducing of tariffs from 19 to 0, which for our row croppers is a huge deal, but also for beef. And as we move forward, I know our incredible trade team is looking at all of the meats, all of the produce, really all of our agriculture exports. And I don't know if there's an industry that has been treated more unfairly and has suffered more than our agriculture industry. So we look forward to, I'll be in the UK on Monday, talking to my counterpart over there for next week, and look forward to moving that out across the country. The president is
I think
incredible.
we can say that we have the best in the world, best tractors, the best everything in the world. And the they say that our agriculture is, second to none, you understand, and it'll be a great asset. People are gonna be able to have options, choice, and they'll have more of it, and that usually means lower prices. How about we'll do you and then you? Go ahead.
Follow-up question for the client TV that you have contacted and excited to 2000 media. So congratulations for the deal. We see a big revenues from the chart. But what's the rest of Europe? It's a victory day, but other European countries, it seems like...
We intend to make a deal with Europe. We have found that the European Union treated us extremely unfairly, they're very difficult, and hurt themselves in doing so. And they very much want to make a deal. We'll be dealing with them. We are dealing with them currently, so that'll cover pretty much the rest of it. But this was separate because of Brexit in particular. This was a separate deal. It always seems so natural. I mean, all the media would say that this seemed to be like, why did this happen 25 years? Why didn't it happen a long time ago? And it was always amazing to me. And somebody would say, hey, we got to make a deal. We have to make a deal. But this deal just fell into place. The Prime Minister did a fantastic job. His representatives are total professionals, and they got along well. And it just seemed to work. And I think one of the reasons it did is because we blew up the whole system. If we would have just been dealing with you separately or, country by country, we blew up the whole system. It was very fair to very unfair to the United States. And I think because of that, this worked out so nicely. And I'm honored that it was the first deal. Please.
Sir, mention.
Well, why don't you go in the back, yes?
Well, thanks, sir. I'm with the London Times. I'd say this is a great day for James Bond because now Aston Martins will be available to American buyers. Will it be even better by extending it to film? You talked about a big tariff on films that we'd like to know if there'd be relief on.
Well, we're going to have a discussion of that separately. And as you know, we're putting tariffs on that particular film, he said, the movie makers. And we're going to be doing some tariffs to get them because a lot of them have left this country. They all live here, the money comes from here, everything comes from here, but they make them in other countries. So we're going to do something to bring them back, maybe to a large extent. But James Bond has nothing to worry about that, I can tell you. And Sean Connery was a friend of mine. Sean Connery was responsible for my getting zoning in Aberdeen. He said, let the bloody bloke build his golf courses. I was like 4 years into the process and it was impossible in Aberdeen. And I don't know, he just stood up one day and he said that. As soon as he said that, I got the approvals in about 2 minutes. So he was a great guy, Sean Connery, and great character.
In the later in the year. Are you going to Scotland and
Yeah, I will be, sure. It's great. We have a lot of investment over there. We have Turnberry, Aberdeen. We have, as you know, in Doonbeg in Ireland, right on the ocean. They're all on the ocean. I only have interest if they're on the ocean. And we have good investments over there. Beautiful. Yes?
Mr. President, if the talks go well this weekend between Secretary Bessent and Ambassador Greer with their Chinese counterparts, not preemptively, but if the talks go well, would you then consider lowering the tariff rate on China?
Well, it could be. I mean, we're going to see right now. You can't get any higher. It's at 145, so we know it's coming down. I think we're going to have a very good relationship. I always got along very well with President Xi. That relationship was greatly disturbed by COVID when COVID came in, but we get along very well now. I mean, the relationship was hurt with a lot of people, a lot of countries when COVID came in. But I think we're going to have a very good relationship. I expect to have a very good relationship with China, Scott. I think it's a very friendly meeting. They look forward to doing it in an elegant way. China, as you know, has a tremendous trade surplus with us, and we just can't have that. And but I think it's going to be very good for both countries. I would like to see China open. One of the big things here is, and nobody would know this, but the UK was largely closed. It was very much closed to trade, and now it's opened. And a lot of the financial reporters are very happy about that because so much. I listened to them. Well, I hope they get countries opened up, and then you compete on a fair basis. But you can't compete when you're not allowed to go there. China would be the #1 example of that. It's very close. We almost had it last time before COVID, and that didn't work out. But we made a great deal with China. They had to buy $50 billion worth of our food products, and it was a great deal, doing very well for our farmers. And then when Biden came in, as usual, nothing happened. He didn't enforce it. and it got less, and ultimately, destroyed a great deal. That was a great deal. But no, I think that we're going to have a good weekend with China. I think they have a lot to gain. I do think they have far more to gain than we do in a sense, but we're going to have I think we're going to have a very good weekend.
Will you speak to Xi after the weekend talks?
I might, yeah, sure, depending on what Scott says. We Scott is doing certain countries and Howard's doing certain countries. I mean, I wish I had like 10 more of each. Then we could do them all at one time. But there will be a time, we'll do a number of them. And then there'll be a time, I think I can say to Scott and Howard, where we're just going to say, because we understand the countries, we understand what they want, where we're just going to make the deal. In other words, we don't need the country involvement because we've already had it. And we'll say this particular country, which had big surpluses, let's say, we had therefore deficits, that this particular country is going to pay a 25% tariff or 30% or 50% or 10% or whatever it may be. I think we should explain it now. One of the things we did here that we'll rarely do is on cars, we took it from 25 to 10 on Rolls-Royce because Rolls-Royce is not going to be built here. I wouldn't even ask them to do that. It's a very special car, and it's a very limited number too. It's not, one of the monster car companies that makes millions of cars. They make a very small number of cars that are super luxury, and that includes Bentley and Jaguar. So we have some very special cars. So in order to help that industry, and that's really, handmade stuff. They've been doing it for a long time in the same location. And I said, yeah, that would be good. Let's help them out with that one. But that's different than a car company that comes out and makes millions of cars, which they'll be doing in our country. They're going to build, we have many factories, car plants being built or going to be built very soon. I think we can say that we'll be close to $10 trillion of investment. I think we're actually at that number now if you add up some of the ones we haven't heard about yet. I mean, we have some going up right now. They have plants going up, and they haven't even spoken to us. They're doing it because of the tariffs. And tariffs have always been used against us, and I never understood. I used to sit back. As you know, China paid hundreds of billions of dollars in tariff when I was president. But until then, China never paid anything. And, they really did a big number on us from the standpoint of trade. But we are using tariffs now for our benefit. And we have now close to $10 trillion. Think of that, $10 trillion. If you look at the past administration, and we're talking about over, essentially 2 months, because we could say 3, but it took a little while to get the office in perfect shape, right? It took a little while to get things done. But once we started, when you think of that, close to $10 trillion of investment, you've had years where the United States wouldn't do that wouldn't do $1 trillion in a year, wouldn't do anywhere near $1 trillion. We did $10 trillion in 2 months. So it's amazing what's happening. We're getting calls and that has to do with chips, has to do with cars. We used to make chips. We had Intel, and we used to make chips. We had a monopoly on chips. Everything was made here. And now, over a period of years, because the presidents that didn't know what they were doing, they allowed that business to be stolen from us. Most of it moved to Taiwan. And you probably were in the same position, right? Because you had a lot of the chip making capacity, but they moved it in. And if we would have said, that's fine, if you want to move it to Taiwan, that's good. But if you want to sell back into the United States, we're going to put a 50% or 100% tariff on, they would have never left. But we had people sitting here that didn't understand that, and it's too bad. But now they're coming back because I'm saying it about 40 years too late. But they're coming back. As you know, we have the biggest chip makers in the world spending, in one case, $300 billion, in one case, $500 billion, same as Apple, and in another case, $200 billion. And we're going to have a large share, very, very substantial share of the chip making market.
You said that this weekend is going to be a friendly visit. Do you expect that it will just be a formality to break the ice, or are they going to get into substantive negotiations?
I believe so, yes. I believe it's substantive, yes. I think people like to say, yes, we're having a meeting to meet. Well, we're meeting, so what are we going to do? Talk about meeting again? I think it's going to be substantive. I think we can say that, right, Scott? Very substantive. Now, China wants to do something. And They have to at this point. You know, essentially, they made $1 trillion a year, and now they have absolutely, no business because of the tariffs. They have no business, and they want to have business, and we want them to have business. We want them to do well. We want them to do very well. So I think it's going to be very substantive.
Because business has slowed down, as you mentioned.
In China.
But we're seeing as a result, the ports here in the U.S., the traffic has really slowed, and now
That's good.
thousands of dock workers and truck drivers are worried about their jobs.
Yeah, no, that means we lose less money. When I see that, that means we lose less money. Look, China was making over $1 trillion, 1.1 trillion, in my opinion. Different numbers from 500 billion to $1 trillion or $1 trillion. I think it was 1.1 trillion. And frankly, if we didn't do business, we would have been better off. Okay, you understand that. So when you say it slowed down, that's a good thing, not a bad thing. But we're going to make it so they can, I'd like to say they could do better, actually, in terms of the bottom line. We'd like to see China opened up so we can compete in China and, give people something that they've never had, access to something. That'd be great for the world. It would be great for our businesses. And I think it would be great for friendship. I really expect a lot of people think I'm a militant guy. I'm really not. I think that trade can bring a greater friendship with China. It can be something good. But, one of the things that I know Scott's going to be talking about very high on the list is open up and let our businesses go into China, because when you talk about a closed country, that's a really closed country. And I think it would be great if it was opened up, give people a lot of choice, and would create a lot of jobs, a lot of everything. So I think it would be a great thing for China. And that's going to be one of the things we'll be discussing, like we discussed with UK. Yeah, please.
So what does Britain have to do to drop the baseline 10% tariff or maintain?
Well, I think that's set because that has to do with a lot of different things, including past. There are a lot of past things that we talk. This is very inclusive. We included everything, and that's pretty well said. Yeah, please.
Yeah, Mr. President, the 10% baseline tariff remaining in place, is that a template for these future trade deals?
No.
Are you keep it here?
No.
Is it going to stay in every case?
No, that's a low number. They made a good deal. Some will be much higher because they have massive trade surpluses, and in many cases they didn't treat us right. One thing with UK, they had it somewhat closed, not like China as an example, but they always treated us with great respect. They treated us with great respect. The template of 10 is probably the lowest end, and therefore they made that deal. But they we've had just a very special relationship with them. Like, I won't do that deal with cars. I mean, unless somebody shows me that there's another kind of a car that's comparable to a Rolls Royce, then there aren't too many. This is a good commercial for Rolls Royce. We're going to order a lot of cars.
President, I wonder whether you'd like to buy.
Well, the last time this happened,
I would be happy to suggest a discount, obviously a very modest discount. You have to protect our profit margins.
I've had many of them, actually. The last time that happened, I ended up buying a Tesla.
I had a question about the UK deal today. I heard there was talk that part of the agreement would depend on whether the UK would respect free speech and freedom of religion. I know the UK is really interested in that, talked about that earlier this year. Was there any assurances that you guys got on that front?
You want to handle that?
Yeah, that was not part of the conversation. Our conversation was an economic conversation from start to finish, closed by the president yesterday. This was a business deal, open their markets, and also protect their workers, grow our markets, and help our workers.
This was about business religion. Business is sort of a semi-religion, but not nearly as important. I don't want to get myself in the back.
Will you be asking China to help you close the gap between Ukraine and Russia?
I think so. Yeah. I think it's a natural thing to ask.
What do you expect?
Sure. I don't know. I think we're making good progress. The fighting is a little bit different than it was. I think if we weren't involved, Russia would be, going at it to maybe get the whole thing. Without our involvement, they'd be able to get it, because we supplied a lot of different things, foolishly. But we've been sort of paid back by doing the rare earth deal that I talked about before. I think that, no, I think that we will be very much involved in trying to get that bloodbath. It's a bloodbath. It's a horrible situation. 5,000, it's really more than that. But it's 5,000 soldiers on average a week, mostly soldiers, are being killed. Young, beautiful people. I mean, they're being killed. I see the satellite pictures coming back, body parts lying all over the fields, heads and arms. It's so terrible. I've never seen anything like it, actually. And if we can get that stopped, that will be a great accomplishment. And we're trying very hard. And I think we're close. And Mr. Witkoff is talking constantly back and forth. He's a real professional. He's got a great relationship with both countries. And I think we have a good chance. And likewise, we're trying to work on Iran to get that solved without having to get into any bombing, as we say, big bombing. I don't want to do that. I want them to work a deal. I want them to be very successful.
Lawrence from Fox Business.
Yes.
On the non-market barriers, how did you get the UK to bend, and what was the 11th hour deal or ask?
Well, I think it was really just a part of the overall. I mean, they have so many things that are so good for them. It's going to be so good for the country. And that was sort of easy. It wasn't, we had non-market, I call it non-market or non-monetary trade barriers. And we had quite a few of them, not nearly as bad as some countries. Some countries have, you know, they have virtually no tariff, but the rest of it is so brutal you can't do business with them, right? So it's a very important question, actually. No, I think the overall deal just worked out very well from their standpoint. They were willing to give that in order to get other things, and you might want to speak to that, Mr. Investor.
Look, the point about the deal is that we will continue reducing tariffs and non-tariff barriers. This is a continuing picture. It's a movie. It's not a still picture here. It's a movie. It continues. And we're both committed to freeing up trade between our countries. We're both committed to freeing up investment between our countries. And the point about this deal is that it provides a very good template and a very good launch pad for what we can continue to do and build on in the future. And that's what we're both determined to do.
You know, many of the, well, many of the, we'll keep it confidential. How about just one more little thing? They well got the deal closed, and it was handled very well from the other side too. But many of these things that we're talking about, we've been talking about this for 25 years. It's hard to explain when, if you weren't sitting behind this beautiful Resolute desk, you just wouldn't get it. I have been hearing about making a deal with UK for 25 years. And especially around the time of Brexit. They wanted to make a deal, so they came out of Brexit and they make a deal, and how natural. And it just couldn't be done. It couldn't be done. Good people. And this is a bigger deal. This is a much bigger, better, stronger deal for both of us than we ever even contemplated before. It's a big deal. Virtually everyone said that it would end in failure, it would end in tears, and it's ended in exactly the opposite.
Yeah. But, Mr. President, can I say that that is due to Secretary Lutnick and Ambassador Greer being absolutely fantastic. But yesterday I received a call, a very diplomatic call that just edged things over the line, and that was from your new ambassador in the United Kingdom.
Who is terrific.
Warren Stevens is here.
Where is Warren? Hello, Warren.
He's flying to London tomorrow night. He's going to be very popular with the British people. He's going to be a very successful ambassador.
And he's got plenty of cash. Plenty of You're going to go ahead, fast.
Yes, are you planning to meet Ursula von der Leyen, the president
Oh.
of the European Council in United
Oh, she's so fantastic, right? She's so fantastic. I hope we're going to meet. Yeah, the answer is yes. I saw her, actually, I saw her a few years ago. And I think that we'll definitely meet. The European Union is a big thing. They want to make a deal very badly. You know, everybody wants to make a deal. Look, everybody wants to make a deal with the United States. So we're doing that, and we're going to make fair deals. I'm just honored that this was the first one. Go ahead, please.
The Federal Reserve Chairman, Mr. President, says that you would have to call him for a meeting. You plan to meet on with him.
I could call him for a meeting, but it's like talking to a wall. He should be,
The Bank of England.
well, the Bank of England cut, China cut, everybody's cutting but him. I don't know, we'll see what happens. It's a shame. I call him Too Late, Too Late Powell, that's his nickname, and it's a shame, it's ridiculous. So meeting, he's always too late. But in this case, it's not gonna matter that much because our country is so strong, we're so powerful in terms of economic strength and what we've done, and I'll tell you what, if we didn't have our first term, you wouldn't be. We created things in the first term. We cut more regulations than any president in history. We cut the taxes more than anybody in history. And a very big factor is going to be the tax bill that we have right now, the one big beautiful bill, as we call it, which is all-encompassing, the biggest tax cuts ever in history, bigger than even the first time, and the incentives, even great for the UK because it'll make us so strong that we're going to be doing more business with you. It's a very important element for taxes, for every aspect, regulation cuts. That bill is, I believe it's the biggest bill of its kind ever in the history of this country. And Speaker Johnson and Leader Thune have done an incredible job. I mean, I'll let you know, we have to get a vote, but we have a lot of support for that bill. And if that happens on top of all of these trade deals that we're doing, this country will hit a point that you better go out and buy stock now. Let me tell you, this country will be like a rocket ship that goes straight up. This is going to be numbers that nobody's ever seen before. That's a very important element of all of this. If we get that, if you don't, and the Democrats are fighting it only because they want to fight. They have Trump derangement syndrome. If it was somebody else, they wouldn't fight. If you had a normal person, some stiff sitting behind you, they'd be fine. But they have Trump derangement syndrome. Senator Schumer's become a Palestinian. Welcome. I don't know when they're going to give him the ceremony, whatever the ceremony may be. It's terrible what's happened to the Democrats. So, very, very important element of everything, of what we're doing. Unrelated to today, but related in the sense that we'll do, if that passes, we'll do even more business with the UK. We'll have so much. It's the biggest tax cut in history. It's going to make our country zoom. It's going to be incentive, as you know, with the deduction for, basically for work. You work, you build, you plant, etc. Deduction. It's going to be the biggest, it's the biggest bill of its kind ever passed. Maybe the biggest bill ever passed. That's why we call it the one big, beautiful bill.
USDA choice ribeye must have cost a fortune, huh? Oh, right. The lowest prices of any national grocery store. It's an oldie thing.
Want to head out over to the White House. That is where we are hearing from President Donald Trump. He is signing some executive orders right now, so let's pop up the audio here and listen in.
Okay, why don't we start just by, we're going to be signing some executive orders.
Yes, sir.
And you want to discuss it for a second, Will? And then we'll have a couple of people speak. And it's my honor to help you. What they did to you is ridiculous.
I would agree.
How long has this been going on?
Well, there's a lot of this, but this one's been going on since 2008, yeah, and then just gets bigger and bigger.
And they basically took away your fishing rights.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they cashed my tax check.
Was that Obama and Biden?
2014 was when they expanded to 500,000 square miles. Obama had 2014.
It's so sad. It's so
91 and Obama.
It's too bad they won't pick it up properly. But it's so sad. Go ahead.
So as Peter said, sir, starting in 2009, continuing in 2014, a very large part of the American exclusive economic zone in the Pacific, amounting in total to 500,000 square miles of the American economic zone has been, exclusive economic zone has been held off limits to commercial fishing. We have a proclamation for your signature today, sir, that would reopen this area for commercial fishing by American-flagged vessels only. This is a huge deal to the island populations in the Pacific, and we hope that this will lead to a new dawn for the American fishing industry in the Pacific Islands.
Could you, Captain, say a few words about how ridiculous this has been, that you had to live like this?
Well,
American Samoa.
we operate of American Samoa. We supply to Starkist, American company, does military packs. And it's, you know, it's our right. The U.S. has the biggest EEZ in the Pacific, and yet we can't fish there. And it seems unfair, and I'm glad that we're opening it up so that we can feed our people.
And tell them how large an area we're talking about.
The Pacific is big, but this is a huge area. Again, the U.S. has the biggest EEZ in the Pacific.
It's an area
and it's
between Californias.
It's an area the size of 3 Californias. They can't fish there. And so what do you do? How do you fish? They took away your livelihood.
Well, we fish in the high seas, and then we have to pay to fish in other
Now, the high seas would mean more danger, right? Is there more danger in the high seas?
Not really. It's just
Far away.
it's a bigger area, and you know.
So how far do you have to travel to get to fish?
The boat carries a lot of fish, so it goes until it's full, basically. But it's good to have plenty of fishing grounds.
You get out to where you have to go for 7 days.
It can be as close as 4 days, but it's a little bit of a jaunt, yeah. And
That's a little bit, I'd say.
so,
So you'll travel from 4 to 7 days
just to get to the fishing ground.
just to get to the area that you're allowed to fish. And is that as fertile an area as the area that you're not allowed to fish in? Or?
Well, the Western Pacific in a whole is 80% of the world's tuna comes from the Western Pacific. So U.S. has a huge EEZ there. There's also the island countries, but it's a big area.
So they took away very fertile ground.
It's very fertile, yeah.
This is so crazy. What would you like to say? Go ahead. Such an honor to do this for these people. This is just crazy. You just tell me, when did this start? When was it? When did
It started back in 2008. But thank you, Mr. President, for this great announcement, and thank you so much for your awesome leadership in giving back to American Samoa what had been taken away from us without even consulting with our leaders and people at that time. And,
They just one day just took away 3 Californias.
yes. And so this is such a wonderful gift to American Samoa. And of course, it's also Holy Week beginning today. And so thank you for returning to our indigenous people this wonderful gift of our traditional fishing grounds.
It's such an honor to do this. You know, normally I say things and it's nice and everything's good. You get more water in the shower head and things like that. This is such an honor. What they've done to you people is incredible. It's like, it's so terrible. Well, you have to travel 4 days in a boat to fish. And it's usually 7 days, I was told before, but 4 days to 7 days in order to fish. And you were there a long time before we were, right?
Yes. Yes,
Like-
for centuries.
Like, I would
Centuries.
say, yeah, thousands of years. I was gonna say.
Mr. President, you have another fishery in the Pacific Ocean. This is the purseine fishery that fishes for canned tuna, and then the fishery in Hawaii fishes for fresh tuna. And so there are 150 vessels, and you're opening up Johnston Island, which is very close to Hawaii, makes it a lot easier for them to fish.
Even
Because of the,
Hawaii, even Hawaii.
well, yes, of course. You're helping the entire fleet, and most of our fish are sold on the mainland. We also fish for swordfish, and when we have too many regulations for our swordfish fishery, you get swordfish from Peru, Brazil, and all those other places that don't have the same management measures that we have in the United States. So we are very grateful in Hawaii for this fishermen, and it's fantastic.
So what's the difference? You say canned tuna.
Right, you have two different U.S. fisheries there.
Yeah, but the same tuna.
Different. No, that's a skipjack, albacore, and yellowfin, and then.
So albacore is canned tuna, right?
Right.
I know that from.
You've seen the can. So our fishery fishes for the sashimi quality fish, so it's all fresh. It's an ice fishery, and it's been around since it started in the early 1900s. And
Well, it's been around for millions of years.
right, exactly.
Long before us.
Right, exactly.
That's great.
So, that's where you're getting your sashimi and your swordfish from. Most of the swordfish that you eat on the mainland comes from our fishery.
You know, they shut down also areas off Maine, you know, the main lobster.
Oh, yes,
And I think we're gonna have to open that one up really quickly too. But we did it, and then, after the election, which was totally rigged, they went out and they put it back again. It was like 500 square miles or some ridiculous thing like that. And Canada fishes there, but we're not allowed to. Can you imagine? They restricted it, but Canada fishes there. Please.
Mr. President, this is such a great honor. You know, today in American Samoa, we're celebrating the 125th Flag Day. It's the first day celebrating when the U.S. flag was first raised there. This very moment, they're celebrating that. So this is a monumental occasion for the people of American Samoa, and we are truly.
So this is a big thing.
This because we're a tuna dependent economy. 99.5% of our exports is tuna.
99.5%? What about the other half?
And then about 80% of our private employment is related to the tuna industry. So yes, this is a big thing for the terrorist.
What's this going to do in terms? It's so interesting to me. It's so horrible and so stupid. It's so stupid. We're talking about a massive ocean, and they're forced to travel 4 to 7 days to go and fish in an area that's not as good and is probably a little more dangerous. The whole thing. So, how is this going to affect your business? It's going to be many more. I mean, you're going to be able to do much more business, I would think, right?
Yes, we would think that this will definitely result in more fish deliveries, and more fish deliveries is more economic gains for the territory.
Tell us what happens when you say China and other people steal your fish. In other words, you're forced to go to areas that are very dangerous.
Well, because of the monuments and overlays of sanctuaries, our fishermen mostly fish on the high seas. And if you look at Global Watch, you will see China, Japan, Korea, Taiwan, all fishing on our very edge of the 200-mile zone. So our fishing, we're in competition with them. And also, you know, their dumping of their fish on U.S. markets lowers the price for our fishermen. And that's another difficult thing that we hope you'll take care of soon.
And what about the stealing of your fish?
Well, you're competing with tuna in a very competitive market, right? So they're camped right outside, like you said, they're camped right outside our EEZ.
And what happens?
And they're taking our fish because it's migratory. Tuna is migratory.
Because we can't fish in our zone, the fish goes to whoever.
And they come in. They come in and they get a kind of motion.
Yes, they do.
They take the fish.
That's a common, well-documented problem.
Does anyone, I mean, it's so interesting. Even you have to find this one interesting. So by doing this, we're going to give you back your lives. And you've been doing this for thousands of years in this area. And along comes Biden and Obama, and they say you can't do it anymore, right?
This is fish baby fish.
Yeah. So, what's the level of popularity, and this is a risky question, but what's the level of popularity of Trump on Samoa versus the Democrats?
77%.
For Trump?
Poll shows for Trump. Yes,
Wow.
that's right. 77%.
Well, they go to the 90s now.
Yes. Or for 100.
Well, it's an honor. I'm not doing it for that. I'm doing it because it's just an honor. Here's one of the boats in there. Look how beautiful that is now. They use it for a beautiful cruise. It takes 7 days before they can do the first fish. Can you believe it? So now you'll be able to do it like almost immediately, right?
We get much closer. Absolutely. So the fish is there. We can make more trips and employ more people.
Do you know through sonar, radar, everything? Do you know where the fish are? I mean, can you see that?
You get educated guesses, so you get all kinds of different reports, plankton, and all kinds of stuff that make it interesting.
It's a beautiful life. You wouldn't choose any other life, right?
It's a very unique life. I love what I do. I really do.
I mean, if you could have a life like some beautiful leisurely life in Washington, D.C., and then you love it when you go to work, but other than that, you love politics. If you could live in the White House, you'd take it exactly.
Might take it under consideration.
Let's do this, right? It's an honor. You've seen that signature, 100 years old, right? You know, like Biden uses little pens. I think
one more also relating to fisheries, sir. This is an executive order on seafood competitiveness. Currently, we have two basic problems here. One is that the American seafood industry is dramatically overregulated. Our fisheries are dramatically overregulated. The other is that we have unfair trade practices from our foreign trading partners relating to the seafood industry. So this executive order is going to attempt to address both of those. The Department of Commerce, other federal departments and agencies are going to work with the fisheries to establish common sense regulatory reforms. I think we're expecting to move as quickly as we can. Yes, sir.
You know what you know exactly what we're talking about already, right? It's crazy, the regulation.
Secretary, I think he's going to fast track that.
Howard, please.
Sure. So you just heard us, the economic zone around Hawaii and Samoa is huge, and it's exclusively ours. So why wouldn't we have our fishermen fish there? I mean, imagine saying our own fishermen, every country in the world, they all fish the 200 miles off their coast, and we were stopping our own fishermen from going off the coast. It's totally the opposite of common sense. That's why President Trump has changed it. Now let's talk about regulation. If you're not even going to let them fish, imagine the regulations that have been written to stop our fishermen from just surviving and thriving. We have the greatest coast in the world with the greatest fishermen in the world, and we need to let them do their great jobs, raise and capture fish, bring them to our tables, have America have the greatest fish in the world, which we have, and then let them export all these other countries, right? They stop us from exporting. That's going to be over with your leadership and your trading policies. We're going to open all of these markets, and we're going to let our fishermen thrive and prosper, and we are going to have lower cost fish, more of it, and the freshest fish in the world. And this is just common sense in the United States of America.
So can I ask, it's so interesting. So you take these massive areas of water, and other countries are allowed to fish in them, right?
No, they sneak in, poach.
So they're not allowed, but they do it because they don't.
They fish in their own zones, sir. So we're systematically disadvantaging our fishermen by not allowing them to fish in parts of our exclusive economic zone, while other countries have their own exclusive economic zones, and they're fishing the heck out of those.
So they're totally benefiting.
Now that you're allowing the U.S. fishing fleet to fish, they also serve as observers. And when they see poachers, they report them to the authorities. And so they're a big help to the U.S. Coast Guard. And so it's great for our U.S. food security.
We should have a trade surplus. We have a big trade deficit.
Great.
Because it's just crazy. Nothing.
Okay.
Familiar.
This is an easy one.
Very easy.
Time out. This is an easy one. This is crazy.
About 80% of the seafood in the U.S. is imported.
Imagine that. We import seafood, and we have the greatest coast of fishing in the world.
Okay, so in Maine, they do something similar. I think it's like 500 miles or something, some crazy thing. And Canada goes and they fish there, other people fish there, Europe fishes there. The Maine lobster. You can't get Maine lobsters because Maine's forced to go for days out to some other area that's not as good. We have to free that up too.
We'll have that on the list next week.
The Maine lobster, right? It's incredible.
You did it.
Think of
Last time, and they undid it.
Canada fishes it, and we're not allowed to. Yeah, I did it last time I made, and they undid it. That's why we have to stay president for a long time. It's a great honor. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Great job. Yes, looks like a real athlete right there.
I did a sheet too.
Mr. President, a short time ago, the Supreme Court agreed to hear oral arguments in the case about ending birthright citizenship. How confident are you that the court will rule in your favor and allow that order to end birthright citizenship to go forward?
Well, you're just telling me that for the first time. I am so happy. I think the case has been so misunderstood. That case, birthright citizenship, is about slavery. If you look at the details of it, the signings of it, everything else, that case is all about slavery. And if you view it from that standpoint, people understand it. But for some reason, lawyers don't talk about it, the news doesn't talk about it. That's not about tourists coming in and touching a piece of sand and all of a sudden they're a citizenship. They're a citizen. That is all about slavery. And even look at the dates on which it was signed. It was right in that era, right after the Civil War. And if you look at it that way, the case is an easy case to win. And I hope the lawyers talk about birthright, citizenship, and slavery, because that's what it was all about. And it was a very positive, it was meant to be positive, and they use it now instead, not for slavery, they use it for people that come into our country and they walk in and all of a sudden they become citizens and they pay a lot of money to different cartels and others. It's all about slavery, and if you look at it that way, we should win that case. Okay.
Mr. President, we have a great relationship with the President of El Salvador. Will you ask him to release Abrego Garcia so that you can facilitate his return here to the United States? And do you believe he deserves due process here?
Well, I must tell you, I have to refer again to the lawyers. I'll have to do what they ask me to do. I had heard that there were a lot of things about a certain gentleman, perhaps it was that gentleman, that would make that case be a case that's easily winnable on appeal. So we'll just have to see. I'm going to have to respond to the lawyers.
Mr. President, we're learning there are now 2 deceased following that shooting at Florida State University. Going in amid that, is there any changes that you want to see to gun legislation? Anything you see broken with gun laws in our
Well, I'm
country?
going to have to, look, I'm a big advocate of the Second Amendment. I have been from the beginning. I protected it. And these things are terrible. But the gun doesn't do the shooting. The people do. It's, a phrase that's used probably too often. I will tell you that it's a shame. I'm just hearing about it now. Just hear about it. I know the area very well. I know the school very well. I know everything about it. It's Florida. And we'll have more to say about it later. I have to see what happens.
There will be more to say about it.
Only in terms of what happened. As far as legislation is concerned, this has been going on for a long time. I have an obligation to protect the Second Amendment. I ran on the Second Amendment among many other things, and I will always protect the Second Amendment.
Mr. President, question about the United Kingdom. There were reports that you were going to stay with the King in September. Can you confirm that? What are you looking forward to?
Well, I was invited by the King and by the country, great country, they're going to do a second, as you know, a second fest, and that's what it is. It's a fest, and it's beautiful, and it's the first time it's ever happened to one person, and the reason is that we have 2 separate terms, and it's an honor to be a friend of Charles. I have great respect for King Charles and the family, William. We have just really just a great respect for the family, and it's a very great honor that, and I think they're setting a date for September.
Is it going to be a smaller visit initially and then a bigger state visit to follow after? Is that the plan?
Yeah, they say that it's going to be, I don't know how it can be bigger than the last one. The last one, which, as you know, was incredible. But they say it's going to be even more important. So it's a great honor to be so chosen.
President Trump, yesterday you spoke with Japan. Is the Nippon Steel deal part of the tariff negotiations? Did you discuss that with them?
It could be, but I doubt it. I mean, I think we're going to view it separately. We want U.S. Steel to remain in the hands of the United States and people from the United States. And a great respect for Japan, but we don't want a foreign country buying U.S. Steel. U.S. Steel was one of our great companies of the world. When you go back 80 years, and it was the biggest, strongest, most powerful company in the world. And we're going to make it very strong and powerful here without Nippon. But if Nippon wants to come in, and I hear they're working on it very hard, I have great respect for Nippon Steel. I know a lot about it. But they can invest and they can do lots of things, partnerships. But we want to have U.S. Steel remain in this country.
So is that a stipulation you would put on these tariff negotiations?
I guess we could talk about it with regard to tariffs, Howard. I mean, it's something that could be a part of it. But tariff negotiations are actually simpler than that. I mean, we're going to set a number and people are going to pay that number, or they're going to decide to go elsewhere if there is such a place. There really is no elsewhere, I think.
In the first term, your Attorney General apologized to Tea Party groups who've been targeted by the IRS and the Obama administration. Why is it okay for the IRS to now be looking at changing the tax status of Harvard because of policy disagreements you have?
So, you know, I had dinner last night with a lot of pastors and ministers and people of faith, and there were like 32 of them, and it was beautiful in the Blue Room, and they said, "Sir, I was targeted by the IRS, and the FBI came in, sir, and I've been going through hell for years." And somebody overheard that statement, and they said, "Oh, that happened to me too." Another one overheard, "Oh, that happened to me too." It was the Biden people, and they had 7 or 8 of them going to be reporting it very soon. I said, "This has to be reported." These are ministers, pastors, evangelicals. They were targeted by the Biden administration, which was a disgraceful administration. Well, I was targeted more than anybody in history. I think you probably know that. I hope you admit it, but you might not. But I was targeted more than anybody in history. But it was interesting because one pastor told me, and another one heard, "Oh, me too, and me too, me too, me too." All of a sudden they're all, and one of them spent all of his money, everything he had on lawyers, for 3 years, he said. It took place almost immediately after the election. After the election, when Biden came in, unfortunately for the country, sadly for the country. So when you ask me that question, I immediately say, let's switch it around to tell you what happened last night. And not only that, we're also finding that many people just having to do with Trump support have gone through hell. And they've used the IRS for purposes of something that's very illegal for them to have to do. It's a very illegal, it's a very, very illegal thing to do what they did. And I think it's such a shame. That was long, what?
If that was wrong, why are you considering changing the tax status of Harvard?
Because I think Harvard's a disgrace. I think what they did was a disgrace. They're obviously anti-Semitic, and all of a sudden they're starting to behave. But when you see what they were saying, what they were doing, when you see the way they took care of events, when you watch that woman, that horrendous president that ruined the image of Harvard, maybe permanently, in Congress, in the halls of Congress, when you take a look at what happened there, it was horrific. And, you know, I've looked at a lot having to do with it. I'm not involved in it. It's being handled by lawyers. I read about it just like you did. But tax exempt status, I mean, it's a privilege. It's really a privilege. And it's been abused by a lot more than Harvard, too. By a lot more than Harvard. So we'll see how that all works out. I don't think they've made a final ruling. I don't believe they've made a final ruling, but it's something that these schools really have to be very, very careful with. Very anti-Semitic when you take a look, whether it's Columbia, Harvard, Princeton. I don't know what's going on, but when you see how badly they've acted, and in other ways also. So we'll be looking at it very strongly.
Subject on the tax exempt status subject. What are the other groups you'd like to see that status removed from? Could we expect an exemption?
Well, we'll be making some statements, but it's a big deal, and they're so rich and so strong, and then they go so bad. They've earned so much by being a member of this country, you know, a member of this group, this beautiful group of people in this country, and then they go and they abuse their power like that. I think it's very sad.
Are we talking about immigrant rights groups, environmental
Could be.
groups?
Could be. I mean, look, environmental. I have a group named Crew. You ever hear of it? I think it's CREW. And they have a guy that heads Crew. It's supposed to be a charitable organization. The only charity they had is going after Donald Trump. So we're looking at that. We're looking at a lot of things. But if you take a look at Crew, what they've done, and I think it was a very big abuse, but we're going to be finding out pretty soon.
Mohammed, can you explain the disconnect between your conversations with President Xi, when those potentially could happen, and why they haven't happened yet?
Well, you don't know whether or not they've happened.
That's my question.
Yeah, I mean, I've never said whether or not they've happened, but I have a very good relationship with President Xi, and I think it's going to continue. And I would say they have reached out. a number of times.
She or they?
Well, the same. I view it very similar. It would be top levels of China. And if you knew him, you would know that if they reached out, he knew everything about it. He runs it very tight, very strong, very smart. And, yeah, we're talking to China.
They've reached out in recent days, or recent weeks.
Excuse me?
They've reached out since the 145% tariffs.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Do you believe
A lot.
Do you believe?
A lot, all the time. We're talking.
Have you ever talked directly to President Xi?
I don't want to say that. It's just not appropriate.
But you're speaking, sorry, has he called you directly, President Xi, or reached out, tried to look at a conversation?
Well, you'd think it was pretty obvious that he has, but we will talk about that soon. It's not that important because honestly, we're going to have a deal. I believe we're going to have a deal with China. And if we don't, we're going to have a deal anyway because we're going to set a certain target and that's going to be it. You have anything to say about that, Howard?
I think our tariff policy around the world has every country in the world coming in and talking to us. It is incredible. We had country after country in yesterday. We are confident that we will work out something with China, and the president knows what he wants to do, and I think he knows it better than anybody else in the world, and we are confident that this is going to work out well, both for the United States of America. I'm sure it'll work it out with China, but the amount of other countries who are working with us is incredible, and I think it's really going to work for the American farmers, for our ranchers, for our fishermen, for our businesses. The scale of companies coming to America just every day, like even this morning we were talking about Whirlpool, and then we were talking about car companies opening. The scale of factories coming to America is mind-boggling, driven by Donald Trump's tariff policy, which has got the world coming and finally respecting the United States of America.
President Trump, you said
And by the way, there's never been anything like it. We have at least $7 trillion of new businesses coming in. If you go back and look at others, I mean, in years they wouldn't do anything like that. So, and this is in a matter of weeks, so it's been pretty amazing.
You said we're talking, so China and the U.S. are talking
Yeah.
on tariffs.
Oh, sure.
Do you believe then that they won't go higher than 125%? We've heard Chinese officials say that. I mean, like, what happens if they do go higher? Do we retaliate more?
Well, at a certain point, I don't want them to go higher because at a certain point you make it where people don't buy. So I may not want to go higher, or I may not want to even go up to that level. I may want to go to less because you want people to buy. And at a certain point, people aren't going to buy. And it's actually up to 145% because you have the 20.
You previously said that you would consider reducing tariffs on China to get a Tik Tok deal done. Is that still on the table as of now?
Well, we have a deal for Tik Tok, but it'll be subject to China, so we'll just delay the deal till this thing works out one way or the other. And I think it's a good deal for China, and the Tik Tok deal is very good. Tik Tok is good for China, and I think they'd like to see us do a deal, especially the deal that we have pretty much done with some of the best companies in the world.
If they agree to sign the deal, would you take that into consideration?
I think it would be something we discuss because it's a natural. If we're making a deal, I guess we'll spend 5 minutes and talk about TikTok. It wouldn't take very long.
Can you give us a sense of how far along these negotiations are with China? Are they in the early stages, or are you inching closer now to actually getting a deal on tariffs?
I think that we will make a deal with China. I think we've had some very good talks, but we will have some very good talks remaining. And you know, I view it, and some people say, oh, rush. I think we have a lot of time. I think we have plenty of time. But we have very, very good, you saw Japan was here yesterday. We had Italy today. We had a great conversation with the Prime Minister. We've had very good talks yesterday with Mexico. Talking with everybody. You know, the problem is there's only so many hours in the day. I think we're going to make a deal with China. We're going to make a deal with everybody. And if we don't make a deal, we'll just set a target, and we'll live with that, and that'll be fine.
How much time?
I would think over the next 3 or 4 weeks, I think maybe the whole thing could be concluded. You have to understand, we're a big, if you think of us as a big, beautiful department store before that business was destroyed by the internet. We're a big, beautiful store, and everybody wants a piece of that store. China wants it, Japan wants it, Mexico, Canada, they live off it, those two. And without us, they wouldn't have a country. And everybody wants a piece. And at a certain point, if we don't make a deal, we'll just set a limit. We'll set a tariff. We'll set some parameters, and we'll say, come in and shop. They may not like that, and they may find it, or the market may find it too high. You know, more likely the market, but the market may find it too high, or the country may find it too high. Then they'll come back and say, well, we think this is too high, and we'll negotiate, or they're going to say something else. They're going to say, well, let's see what happens. But they always have a right not to do it. So they can say, well, we don't want it, so we're not going to shop there. We're not going to shop in the store of America. We have something that nobody else has, and that's the American consumer. And I had the most successful, the most successful 4-year period in the history of this country, and I think we're going to blow it away this time. But there is a little bit of a transition, and we're going to have that little transition, and it's not much of a transition. You know, if you look right now, we're getting 25% on cars, right? We're getting 25% on steel. We're getting 25% on aluminum. We're going to have some other things that we're going to be adding in the not too distant future because we want them to be made here. The medicines, the drugs, pharmaceuticals are going to be done, and computer chips, et cetera, and because of that, we have the biggest computer companies in the world coming in from Taiwan and other places, and they're building in Arizona and lots of other places. We're number one in AI by far. We're leading China by a lot, by tremendous amounts. We're going to supply electricity at levels never supplied before. They're going to build their own electric. We're going to let them become a utility, essentially. And it's going to be amazing for the country. They're going to build their own electric plants. We have to double up our electricity to remain number one in AI. We're going to have to double up our electricity take our whole country. We're going to have to double up our electricity. Think of that. And probably even triple it up. And we're going to let them build their own electric plants with their plant that they're building for the AI or whatever they're doing. Never been done before. We're going to get them quick approvals. Going to be very clean, going to be very nice. And we're going to get them very fast approvals. And people are investing in this country like they've never invested before. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Chupa Chups, Melody Pops, taste the music.
I tried everything for my stubborn dandruff, and then I found Nizoral. Nizoral works differently to get to the root cause of dandruff. In fact, its active ingredient is 10 times more effective at fighting fungus, the primary cause of dandruff. Say goodbye to stubborn dandruff with Nizoral.
Shift gears quickly here on Live Now from Fox. I believe media is now being led into the Oval Office for the signing, so not taking place in the Rose Garden anymore. Let's just dive into this live event here on Live Now from Fox. Plenty of comments from the president, plenty of questions also to be asked. Let's listen into what is said here.
Peter, ask him a lot of questions. You all set? So it's an honor to have you back. A friend of mine, Kid Rock, sometimes referred to as Bob. I know him as Bob, but he's been a good friend for a long time, many years, and he's been after something that is for the good of a lot of people, including, in particular, the public, and having to do with ticket sales and scalping and all of the gouging that you have been reading about. It's gotten worse and worse with time. And I didn't know too much about it, but I checked it out, and it is a big problem. And I thought, I think you've been trying to get this done for 20 years or something. He said, Trump got it done in 2 weeks. But we came up with a very serious EO, and I'm going to sign it now, and maybe I'll ask you, Will, to explain a little bit about it, please.
Of course, sir. So this is an executive order, as you said, that deals with the ticket reselling business. For fans of live entertainment and for entertainers as well, the ticket reselling industry has become a huge issue. These people use bots and computer algorithms to buy up huge blocks of tickets and then jack up the price so that fans of live entertainers like Mr. Ritchie, I almost called him Mr. Rock, don't have access to concerts the way that they should. And when they do, it's at exorbitantly high prices. So what this executive order does, it charges the FTC and the Department of Justice with rigorously enforcing laws on the books in collaboration with state attorneys general that have power over consumer protection and other people who have the power to really crack down on this issue so that entertainers and fans won't be subject to these abusive and oftentimes illegal practices.
Good. Thank you very much. Bob, do you want to say something?
Yeah, anybody it doesn't matter your politics. First of all, thank you, Mr. President, because this has happened at lightning speed. I know you I want to make sure Alina Habba gets her credit too, because I know she worked very hard on this, but thank you for making this happen. So, like anyone who's bought a concert ticket in the last decade, maybe 20 years, no matter what your politics are, knows it is a conundrum. You buy a ticket for $100, by the time you check out, it's $170. You don't know what you can charge for it, but more importantly, these bots. You know, they come in to get all the good tickets to your favorite shows you want to go to, and then they're relisted immediately for sometimes a 400 or 500% markup. And the artists don't see any of that money. And, you know, ultimately, I think this is a great first step. I would love down the road if there would be some legislation that we could actually put a cap on the resale of tickets. And I'm a capitalist and a deregulation guy, but they've tried this in some places in Europe, and it seems to be the only thing that's us as artists be able to get the tickets into the hands of the fans at the prices we set. I'll be the first one to say, and I know the president doesn't like when I say this, but I'm a little overpaid right now. It's kind of ridiculous. I would rather be, you know, a hero to working class people and have them be able to come attend my shows and give them a fair ticket price. I can't control that right now, so hopefully this is a step to really be able to make that happen. I know a lot of artists and a lot of fans who love concerts and music are going to be very appreciative.
And I think Bob is more interested in the fans and the people that are having to pay crazy prices than he is the artist. Maybe the artist a little bit, but the fans a lot. I've spoken to him over the years about it. And it's been, it bothers him. It bothers a lot of other artists too. You see the artists, and they go out with a $100 ticket and it sells for $2,000 the following night. And they seem to be able to sweep up the best locations too, which is pretty amazing. So
they've only enforced that box act one time, I believe. A couple years ago in New York City, so we got a couple $1 million fine. And that's the only time they've enforced that act.
And who's the primary culprit? Who sells these tickets?
It's the scalpers. It's these bots go in and they're automated, so you're.
But is there a company involved? You might not listen.
No. Well, there's reselling markets all. Yeah.
I know, Peter. But that's all right. Don't get him involved. Maybe they're more innocent than we think.
Well, if you think of it, like if Ticketmaster sells a ticket, if you buy a ticket and go to a show, you're in a lot of ways their worst customer. They make another 17 whatever percentage every time that ticket resells, so they don't want to enforce the bots act necessarily because they're making more money off it. Look, the artists don't see any of that money, but that's not what I'm advocating for. Is for me to make more money. I want the fans to have fair ticket prices, be able to go and enjoy more shows. I know people that can they decide on a family vacation they're going to their favorite concert once a year rather than, you know, my parents used to go see multiple shows when you could afford them back in their day. And I'd like to take my ticket prices lower, but if I set my ticket prices low, these bots immediately eat them up and they resell for hundreds of dollars more, and I'm just making these bad actors rich.
Well, I think this is a big step to getting it stopped. Do you have something, Brett?
Yeah, I do actually. I actually feel that the consumer is going to take the money that they've saved and actually buy merch, which you guys have a big percentage of, or do concessions, which you guys split with the venue on that as well. So I think
we don't share concessions a lot. We try to, but they don't want to share it in the beer prices and parking or any of that stuff. But the bottom line is there's money for everyone to be made. There's plenty of money to go around. You know, no one's going to really lose here. You know, Ticketmaster, if we can get a cap, they're going to lose some money. But I've already talked to CEO Michael, and he's given me his word. He's on board for it.
I was talking to Jacoby with Papa Roach earlier, and by the way, he's a big fan of what you're doing, President Trump, digging into this whole scalping and the bots. A lot of musicians, you can say that they're with Kid Rock, sir. On this, without a doubt.
A lot of people are.
President Trump, would you ever wear a jacket like that?
I don't know. I was thinking about doing it for tomorrow. We have a big event coming up, and I was thinking about doing it, but I'm not sure.
So you recently bought a Tesla for White House staff to use, but
Now there's all these domestic terrorists targeting Teslas. Are the staff scared to try it?
I don't think so. I haven't heard. They were complaining. I did buy one and I let the staff use it. We have it parked conveniently, and one day we give it to Margot, one day we give it to Chamberlain, give it to Natalie, we give it to everybody around, give it to Dan Scavino, but he's got so much money it doesn't matter. But they love the car, and it's a great car, and it's made here, and it's made in the country. He's got a tremendous plant now in Texas, and he has one in California. Does a lot of his work here, and he's been really unfairly treated, in my opinion.
I try. And
Yeah.
there's this other story, I know it's hypothetical right now, but if you were allowed for some reason to run for a third term, is there a thought that the Democrats could try to run Barack Obama against you?
I'd love that.
For his third term?
Boy, I'd love that. That would be a good one. I'd like that. No, people are asking me to run, and there's a whole story about running for a third term. I don't know. I never looked into it. They do say there's a way you can do it, but I don't know about that. But I have not looked into it. I want to do a fantastic job. We have 4 years, just about, almost close to 4 years. Time is flying, but it's still close to 4 years, and we're getting a lot of credit for having done a great job in the first almost 100 days. And we have some big things we're going to be announcing over the next 2 days, and you know very well, Peter, and I think it's going to be something that's going to bring a lot of wealth back to our country, tremendous wealth back to our country, actually. And other countries are understanding it because they've been ripping us for 50 years longer, but they've been ripping us off for years, right from the beginning. And I think this is going to be an amazing, I call it a lot of different names, but it's really, in a sense, it's a rebirth of a country because how we could have afforded to do what we did, we help everybody, and they don't help us. I really, the term I like best probably is the liberation of America. It's the liberation of this country because it's incredible. Look, we have 36 trillion in debt for a reason, and that accumulates over a long period of time. So I think what you're going to be seeing over the next couple of days will be very inspiring to a lot of people. You know, they had a lot of auto plants being built in a certain country. I don't want to mention the country because we get along great with the country, but those plants aren't being built there anymore. They gave them up today and yesterday, day before, and they're building them all now in the United States. And we have many examples, not only auto plants, chip companies from Taiwan are coming in. The biggest, Mr. Wei, he's big. I said, you are a smart guy, aren't you? I've been reading about him over the years, but he controls a large portion of the chip business, as you know. You don't get smarter. They're going to be investing $200 or $300 billion. Apple's investing $500 billion. You know, they always built their places in China. Now he's building here. I think because of you speak to Tim Cook, because of the election, but maybe more importantly because of the tariffs. You know, he's got really an obligation to do it. But we have many, many companies that you haven't even heard of. But I think we'll be at $5 trillion very soon. And if you think about this, we've never been anywhere near that. I don't know if we've ever been at $1 trillion.
What do you mean by that?
We're 500. What do I mean by a trillion?
5 trillion, what are you referring to, sir?
I think that we're going to be at $5 trillion of investment. I think you're going to have investments very shortly. We're already 3.5, and we have commitments, verbal commitments for a lot more. And numbers like that have never been done in this country. And it's going to get harder. This is in 2 months. It's really in less than 2 months because since we've really gone out with it. And we have other interesting things happening. But to me, the whole tariff situation, and essentially they've done that to us for many years. So if we're anywhere near 5 trillion in 2 months, this could be numbers like the country's never seen. And every time you hear a dollar spent, that's another job because the jobs are coming with it. So auto plants, chip plants, pharmaceuticals, lumber coming in. We have things happening in this country. I'm not sure that they've ever seen it. Steel, you know, we have tariffs on steel. They've been here for a while. Steel and aluminum. Nobody's ever seen anything like we're witnessing now. Nobody's ever seen anything. Most of you agree with that. I mean, it's nothing much you can't agree with. We have things happening in terms of jobs and investment, the likes of which I don't think we've ever seen. If you look at, let's say, 4 to 5 trillion in a period of a month and a half. That's even more than you do with your concerts, which are always sold out, right? Nobody's ever seen numbers. And think of it, where Apple's at 500 billion, as I said, but they always used to spend their money in China. Now they're spending it here. That means they're going to build now. They don't have any tariffs. Remember, there are no tariffs if you do your product here, if you build whatever it is in the USA. One of the things we're also trying to get is if you buy a car that was built in the USA, you get a deduction on interest. So if you go out and borrow money to buy a car, if it's built in the USA, never been done before, it's a big deduction for people that really aren't used to deductions, frankly, because people that buy cars like that are not big into the world of deductions, and now they're going to learn about deductions. So I think it's going to be great. Yeah.
Are you going to move to universal tariff or different individual tariff rates on a whole variety of different?
Well, you're going to see in 2 days, which is maybe tomorrow night or probably Wednesday. You're going to see, and they're reciprocal. So whatever they charge us, we charge them, but we're being nicer than they were. We have a lot of countries, friend and foe. I always say friend and foe, but the friend in many cases is worse than the foe. They took advantage of us, and we are going to be very nice by comparison to what they were. The numbers will be lower than what they've been charging us, and in some cases maybe substantially lower, but we sort of have a world obligation perhaps. But we're going to be very nice. Relatively speaking, we're going to be very kind. Somebody said that about me the other day. He said, who doesn't know me very well, they said, you're such a kind person. And I said, say that again. They said, you're a kind person. I said, I'd never heard that before. It was a weird thing, but I was kind. I've heard of words, I don't know, I've been in that time. You know, I've been called a lot of things, but it's sort of a different kind of a word. It's like an old-fashioned word, is that it?
Mr. President, you met with the chairman of Stellantis today. Did
Yes.
he ask you for a pause on the auto tariffs?
No.
What was that meeting about?
Just about some of the problems they have with the environmental, which we're going to clean up.
Have any of the automakers?
We're going to probably go back to 1920. If you look, we're going to go back probably to a 2020 standard. So we'll have 2020 standard, and that's just a few years ago. Oh, they're making it so difficult all over the world to make it. It doesn't mean a damn bit of difference for the environment. It doesn't matter. They make it impossible for people to build cars. So we're going to be doing much different. 2020 is a strong standard, but they take it to a level now that makes it very difficult to build a car. So we're going to be bringing it back to a standard that is a very good environmental standard, but it makes it possible to build a car.
Have you heard any concerns from the automakers, though, about the tariffs on parts that will go into effect over the coming weeks? About what that's going to mean for the price of
Well, I gave them a big break for a month. I didn't charge them anything, for a big month, for that first month, and they brought a lot of material into this country because they could bring it in without tariff. If you look at Canada and Mexico, they were driving hundreds of thousands of cars into the market because they avoid the tariffs by doing it before the tariffs go on, which would be Wednesday. And I saw some of your shows where cars are lined up for miles and miles. Some of them didn't have fenders on them. Some of them didn't have the roof on yet. They're driving it in brand new. They're driving it in because they want to avoid the tariffs. I let them have that. They sort of took advantage of it because, that wasn't part of the deal, but that's okay. They're great American car companies and car companies. And so I gave them a little break on that.
Are there any countries that you're not targeting?
Well, it depends. I said it's reciprocal. Not everybody has made a fortune, but almost everybody has, but not everybody. And the ones that haven't, we're going to be very nice to them.
And on a separate issue,
because that word reciprocal is very important. What they do to us, we do to them. Okay.
Can I just ask you briefly on President Putin? You said over the weekend, or indicated over the weekend, some frustration with him. How serious are you about imposing oil sanctions?
No, I want to see him make a deal so that we stop Russian soldiers and Ukrainian soldiers and other people from being killed. But mostly it's Russian and Ukrainian soldiers. They're losing at least 2,500 human beings, beautiful human beings, a week. And I want it to stop. And some people would say, Why do you worry about Russian soldiers or Ukrainian soldiers? I worry because it's like, they're just like you people, they're like us, they're like all of us. And I seem to have an ability to do those things, and if I can do that, I think it's a very worthwhile thing to do. And I think we will. No, I want to make sure that he follows through, and I think he will. I don't want to go secondary tariffs on his oil, but I think, you know, it's something I would do if I thought he wasn't doing the job. I did it with Venezuela, secondary tariffs, and you know what happened? Every boat left the harbor. Did you see that? It was a beautiful thing to see. The whole harbor emptied out. My words weren't even finished. I had these massive ships. They're actually taking the hoses and dumping them into there. They couldn't get out of there fast enough because they know I don't play games. So I think he's going to live up to what he told me, and I think he's going to fulfill his part of the deal. Now, then you have Zelensky, and hopefully he's going to live up. I see he's trying to renegotiate the rare earth. You know, we did something because, as you know, the Europeans get paid back the money that they gave, and we don't, because Biden is an incompetent president. And he should have asked for rare earth, or he should have asked for the loans to be guaranteed in some form. That's what Europe did. Europe is in for probably $100 billion, and we're in for $350 billion. So we're in for more than 3 times. And now you could make it a little bit less than that, but it doesn't matter, whatever the number. We're in for substantially more than Europe. We could be in for $350 billion. They have no idea because Biden wasn't a good bookkeeper except for himself. And what happens is we made a deal for rare earth. It was all done. And I heard through you, I haven't spoken to them yet, but through you I heard that they're now saying, well, I'll only do that deal if we get into NATO or something to that effect. Well, that was never, number one, discussed. Number two, I think it's going to be very, long before Putin, they said you're not going into NATO. And it could be, that's probably the reason the war started, actually.
Yeah, we're hours away from a very special election. Wisconsin, Florida, want to share your thoughts on Republican voters to not sleep on this. These are 2 very important races to go.
Well, it's a big race, Supreme Court race in Wisconsin. It's taking place essentially as you know, as early voting, so we'll see what happens. It's a big race. I love Wisconsin. We won Wisconsin. Republicans typically don't do very well in Wisconsin, but I did. I actually won it twice. I actually probably won it 3 times, to be exact.
We played their side.
Not probably. I won it 3 times. We had a rigged election the second time, but that's, you know, one of those things. We had to make this one too big to rig. Would you agree with that, Brian? Too big to rig? So anyway, but yeah, there's a big race, and I hope you get out and vote for the Republican. The woman is a radical left lunatic, and let's see who wins. But the woman will be very bad, and you know, Wisconsin's a big state politically, and the Supreme Court has a lot to do with elections in Wisconsin. So if whoever it is that's running, including, you know, even Senate races, etc., but whoever it is in 4 years that runs, having Wisconsin is a very big, you know, we won it early and big, but winning Wisconsin's a big deal. So therefore, the Supreme Court choice is the one you're talking about right now. It's a big race. It's going to be announced fairly shortly.
President Trump, I've seen some big league deadlines, you know, Liberation Day and the TikTok deadline.
Yeah,
this
we
week.
do, which I can extend if I want, but we have a lot of enthusiasm for TikTok for buying it. I think TikTok is good. I used it I was a great TikTok guy, and we won by 36 points, the youth. You know, we won the youth, which Republicans don't do. Maybe it's because Kid Rock likes Trump, I don't know, but we won the youth by 36 points, and I attribute some of that to TikTok.
Is the TikTok deal, negotiations now, tied to a bigger tariff deal with China?
No, but you know, it could be. I mean, you know, I've used tariffs for lots of different reasons, but I could see, you know, 1 point in tariffs with China, big country, would be probably worth more than all of TikTok, as valuable as TikTok is. It's big stuff. So there's a great example. That's a great question, actually. I'm a very flexible person. I could use that for that. Like, maybe I'll take a couple of points off if I get approvals for something. I haven't done it. Maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't. But it's a very good question. Peter, you're very good.
Thank you. You'll love this one.
Go ahead.
It's not front page news, but I am just curious. What is your thought about Tiger Woods now becoming part of the broader Trump family?
Well, I love Tiger, and I love Vanessa, and they had a great relationship. I happen to think the relationship with my son, I happen to think the relationship was hurt very badly by the witch hunt that went on, Russia, and all the crap that they put Don through, who knew nothing about it. But Vanessa and Don had a very good relationship. They have incredible children, 5 incredible children, all good athletes, all great students, like great. And they broke up, quite a while ago, and which was to me very sad, because I think they're both great. Don and Vanessa and Tiger actually called me a few months ago, and I have a very special, very good relationship with Tiger. I played golf with him a couple of times over the last month, and he's a fantastic guy and a fantastic athlete, and he told me about it, and I said, Tiger, it's good, it's good. I'm very happy for both. I just let them both be happy. Let them both be happy. They're both great.
To follow up on China, China, South Korea, and Japan say they're going to work together in cooperation to respond to the. Are you concerned that this move, the tariffs this week, could push some of the United States' closest allies to work with China?
No, I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about it. Yeah.
Mr. President, can I ask you
I
about
think they have a
something?
chance of doing better, actually, with the tariffs. It can actually help them in a certain way. And I think a lot of them will drop their tariffs, because, they've been unfairly tariffing the United States for years. And if you look at the European Union on cars, the European Union already dropped their tariff down to 2.5%. It was announced a couple of days ago, which is what which is a very small tariff. The United States charged very little. And I think I heard that India just a little while ago is going to be dropping its tariffs very substantially. And I said, why didn't somebody do this a long time ago? A lot of countries are going to be dropping their tariffs.
But also, what happened in France today, Mr. President, Marine Le Pen, the far-right leader, got convicted in court and is now banned from running for office for 5 years. Do you have a comment?
That's a big deal. That's a very big deal. I know all about it, and a lot of people thought she wasn't going to be convicted of anything, and I don't know if it means conviction, but she was banned for running for 5 years, and she's the leading candidate. That sounds like this country. That sounds very much like this country. Okay, anybody else?
You presented with a bunch of proposals for tariffs by your advisors that were talking about that.
And who?
That your advisors have presented ideas
They
to you
do.
about,
Oh, yeah.
about tariffs and what to do in the next few days. Have you settled?
Well, you're going to see, I've settled, actually a long time ago. But we talk about it a lot. And we want to do what's right for the country and even the world. It affects the world, not just this country. This has been the piggy bank for the entire world. So it really does affect the world, and that's important to me also. Yeah.
Mr. President, in the past you have said that you want the quick return of Austin Tice, a Marine Corps veteran and a journalist who went missing in Syria over 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Have efforts been made to locate Austin Tice been extended beyond Syria, including potential leads in Iran? And do you have plans to get in touch with Miss Deborah Tice, the mother of Austin Tice? And also at the same time, organizations like Hostage Aid Worldwide have been on the ground in Syria searching for Austin Tice for many years. Can I get your comment on the potential future plans to locate Austin Tice and to bring him home finally?
So we've been looking, as you know, for Austin for years. I don't know about Biden. I don't think Biden was looking for anything, but we were. And there's been virtually no sign, you know that. There's been no sign of Austin. An incredible young guy. Be less young now. It's been a long time. It's been many, many years. The mother is fantastic. She's a very committed mother that her whole life is to find her son, who was in Syria and just disappeared off the face of the earth. So, a lot of bad things happen. But we're always... we will never, until we find out something definitive, one way or the other, we'll never stop looking for him. But we have been, and the response, it's just a lot of dead ends. He's been gone for a long time. The problem is there's never been a sighting. Sometimes you'll have somebody you're looking for him and there's a sighting, and there's never been a sighting of Austin. but we are out there, and we have great respect for his family and for his mother. She's been unbelievable. Yeah, please.
The question about,
No, behind you.
Yes, you've had outreach with the leaders of Russia and China. You've made an outreach to Iran. When are you going to plan to reach out to North Korea and Kim Jong-un? Anytime in the near future?
Well, I do. I have a very good relationship with Kim Jong-un. Now, you people hate to hear that, but it's very important. I got along with him fantastically, as you know. It started off very rough, very nasty. Little rocket man, the whole thing was a nasty deal. And then one day we got a call that they'd like to meet. We met. We have a great relationship. And yeah, we have, there is communication, yeah. I think it's very important. There is a big nuclear nation, and he's a very smart guy. I got to know him very well. Remember, I put my foot across the line, and then I walked across the line. I don't know if Secret Service was thrilled with that. They actually wasn't. They were not too thrilled. But I have a very good relationship with him. Yeah, we'll probably do something at some point. Yeah, please.
Who's on your short list, Mr. President, to replace Lee Stefanik as U.S. Ambassador to the UN?
So we have a lot of good people that want it. First of all, Elise is fantastic, and I just don't want to take chances where you guys saying, how is the election going? We have a congressional election that's a little bit close. I guess the one is in good shape, but the other one's a little bit close. But Randy Fine is a great guy. They're both good candidates. They're very good. But it's, you know, a little bit, we want to be careful. And Elise is very popular in her district, and so am I. We won by a lot of points, and so did she. And there's a lot of people that wanted to run for it, but we have no idea, are they going to win? I think it's just security. And I said, Elise, what about going back? Because they love you there, and she's going to take a big leadership position with Mike Johnson and the group, the speaker. And I can tell you that for the replacement, we have a lot of people that have asked about it and would like to do it. David Friedman, Rick Grinnell, and maybe 30 other people. Everyone loves that position. It's a star-making position. And so we'll see what happens. But we have a lot of people that are interested in going to the United Nations, as you can imagine. Yeah.
Get a quick music question. Favorite song to play live is what? And then my question for you, Mr. President, your favorite rally you did last year, 2024. What was your favorite one?
Favorite song to play live?
Yeah, favorite song to play live.
Oh, that's a tough one. It'd have to be one of the hits, probably Cowboy or Ball with the Bar. There's a song that I played every night that was never a singular hit that I probably should not say the words to in this office right now.
And then for you,
You never met a certain
By the
person
way,
like
his
me.
rallies are amazing. He does great and gets big crowds. He's really a star when it comes to that. He is a very talented guy. I would say maybe Madison Square Garden, because anybody that was there, the owner of the garden, Jim Dolan, who's, you know, to me always been terrific. He said he's never seen anything like it. We had, when you announce Madison Square Garden, you know, it's a big arena, but we sell out big arenas. We sold out in Milwaukee. We sold out in every big arena. We never had empty seats. It's amazing. They talk about Bernie Sanders gets 2,000 to 3,000 people. I said, these crowds, I get 107,000 people in New Jersey. In Butler, PA, we had over 100,000 the second time. We had 55,000 the first time. We have big crowds. I would say Madison Square Garden, because I grew up in New York and the garden is great. Jim Dolan treated us well, but everybody said that, because I think I could have filled it up 10 times. We had hundreds of thousands of people that were stacked all the way back to the Hudson River and on the other direction, back to Fifth Avenue. Nobody's ever said, I don't mean with a line, I mean like 50 deep, like 50 deep this way. The streets were closed, the whole thing, it was crazy. And when you take that, you know, you want to do well at Madison Square Garden. You don't want to have empty seats. But we could have sold it out, Brian, 10 times, and everybody knew it. And I think we got a good indication that that's where the election was going. And we won every swing state, and we won by millions of votes. It was a great election, yeah.
President, the U.S. military transferred 17 individuals to El Salvador overnight. Did you discuss with your team whether these deportations would run afoul of any recent court orders?
No, I do want to thank, however, the president. He has been unbelievable and, in relation to us. But I think that our people have done an incredible job. I got elected on the basis of getting bad people out of our country that shouldn't be here, very dangerous people out of our country. And that's what I did. And then you have a judge that wants to take over. And I can't imagine it can be allowed. It was up to him that all be put back in our country. These are killers. These are drug lords. These are really bad people. But I want to thank the president of El Salvador because he's done an amazing job. You saw it. Yeah.
Elon Musk's special government tenure is coming to an end, 130 days, I think another month. Do you want him to stay longer, or is it time for him to go back to running his companies in Europe?
Well, I think he's amazing, but I also think he's got a big company to run, and so at some point he's going to be going back. He wants to. I keep him as long as I can keep him. He's a very talented guy. I love very smart people. And he's very smart, and he's done a good job. Doge has, we found numbers that nobody can even believe, like 400 billion, 500 billion, it could be close to $1 trillion by the time they end on different things. And he's led the charge, and you've seen a lot of his people, and these are people that joined up. I would say they're high IQ people. I like high IQ people. And they've done a great job. No, at some point, Elon's going to want to go back to his company. I will say, he's got, despite the way he's been treated, so he's an American patriot, but the way he's been treated with Tesla is just terrible. It's just terrible. In fact, you have a Tesla, and you love it. He was saying before he bought a Tesla, he loved it. A lot of people are buying Teslas, I think, and I hope they are. He should not be treated that way. He's done an incredible service.
Once he goes back, is Doge going to keep operating even without Elon here?
Well, I can't tell you that. I can say this, that a lot of the people that are working with Doge are the secretaries, the heads of the various agencies, and they've learned a lot, and they're dealing with the Doge people. I think some of them may try and keep the Doge people with them, but, at a certain point, I think it will end. But they have also gotten a big education, and they're doing a really good job. There'll be a point at which the secretaries will be able to do this work and do it very, as we say, with a scalpel. And that's what we want. Yeah, Jeff?
Mr. President, have you had any updates on the U.S. soldiers that are missing in the Kuwait?
I have.
Can you give us an update?
So 3 are no longer with us, and 1 is unfortunately probably in the same category, but they haven't declared that yet. It was a very heavy truck, like I told you, but really heavy. It lifted the heaviest equipment, and it would seem that the bank of the lake collapsed. The weight is so big, and it was at night, and it was very cold weather, ice, a lot of ice, and it's possibly slipped. And the weight is so enormous of this thing. It's a massively heavy vehicle, and if they slipped a little bit, that's probably what happened, and it flipped. And 3 are gone, and 1 is missing.
On a separate topic, follow-up on immigration, did you see the video of a Tufts University student who was taken off the street by ICE agents last week in hoodies and masks? There's been a lot of criticism of that. Are you comfortable with how that was handled?
Well, I haven't really looked at it in any detail, but I will. I have seen it quickly, but not, I wouldn't want to comment on it. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, would you be able to confirm recent reporting that you are making plans to go to Saudi Arabia next month? And if so, why is Saudi Arabia so important?
So, I have a very good relationship with the Middle East. In fact, if you look at Michigan, I won the vote by a lot. People were a little surprised. And I have a very good relationship with Mohammed and the king. His son is Mohammed, he's great. Crown Prince, actually he's Prime Minister too. He's got a lot of good titles. But he's great, and the king has been wonderful. And if you remember last time I went to Saudi Arabia, I put him first on the list because they agreed to buy $450 billion worth of American goods military and otherwise. And they did, and it was an unbelievable day. It was in this gorgeous ballroom, and companies were there from many, probably 100 companies, and they were given anywhere from 40 or 50 million dollars to less, and more actually. Okay, some of them were given numbers that were just many times that amount. I think we had a couple of $20 billion deals and big stuff. And it's a very rich country because of oil, and we are a very rich country ultimately when we straighten out because of oil. Oil is always good. And I agreed to do it again, and they've agreed to spend close to $1 trillion of money in our American companies, which to me means jobs. So they're going to spend hundreds of billions of dollars and giving them to American companies that are going to be making equipment for Saudi Arabia and other places in the Middle East. And for that, I think it's worth it. I did it last time, 450 billion, and the press was there. It was one of the most unique days I've ever seen, where companies would get up and you're getting 20 billion. They named the company, the chairman were all there, every chairman and top person in the company. You remember that, Pete? I don't know if you were there. You might be too young for that.
I was on the Democratic campaign trail.
Oh, that was boring. This was a much better deal. But it was amazing, actually. It was an amazing day. We sold and we partook in $450 billion worth of investment into American companies. And they announced the company, the amount of money, $1 billion, $5 billion, $25 billion. And the chairman of the company, many of whom, you know, well-known figures, prestigious figures, great business leaders, went up, they shook the hand of somebody, and they would sit down, and we just had a big investment made. So it was a record. Nobody ever beat it before. $450 billion worth of jobs. I view it as jobs more than anything else. And now we're close to $1 trillion, so it's more than double the number that we did when I first came to office.
And this trip takes place next month.
It could be next month, maybe a little bit later, yeah. And we're going to Qatar also. And also we're going to possibly a couple of other countries. UAE is very important. It's a great leader in UAE. And I had his brother here the other night, if you saw that. We had a wonderful guy, a wonderful family. So we'll probably stop at UAE and Qatar, and as I used to call it, Qatar. Nobody's ever told me right or wrong. I always like to say Qatar, but it's Qatar. They like to say Qatar. And Saudi Arabia, the three of them, and then we'll go other places also. But in the Middle East, those seem to be the three. And again, tremendous amounts of jobs will be created in those 2 or 3 days. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, press. Headed out that door right there. Thanks, guys.
Icon tools complete every repair, now giving an inch, only at Harbor Freight.
Okay, we have a beautiful announcement to make. It's very exciting. Money is pouring in, and we want to keep it that way. And I think that's what's going to happen. We have tremendous interest in our country, more than ever before. There's never been anything like it. We're almost at a $4 trillion level, and it's something that's never happened. And I think hopefully it's because of the election on November 5th, but it's also because of tariffs, I suspect, Governor. But I'm thrilled to welcome Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry, a friend of mine for a long time, and to have you at the White House. And we thought this was going to happen, and I said, if you get it signed up, we'll do it at the White House, and you got it all done. I'm proud of you. Not surprised. Executive Chairman of Hyundai Motor Group, Jung E-sun. Thank you very much. What a great honor. Vice Chairman Jay Chang. Jay, thank you. Hyundai Steel President Soo Gang Hyun. Thank you very much, President. That's big stuff. And former Ambassador Sung Kim. Thank you very much. Great honor to have all of you. Also, and these names are much less difficult for me, but I think we got them right. But this one we will definitely get right. Mike Johnson, our great speaker, he's been doing a real job. Right, Mike? It's an easy job, isn't it? House Majority Leader Steve Scalise. Steve, you're doing all right, Steve. I tell you, he went through a lot. He's stronger than ever. Louisiana Speaker Philip Duvalier. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Senate President Cameron Henry, State Representative Ken Brass, State Senator Eddie Lambert, and Ascension Parish President Clint Point Ment. Thank you all very much. Thank you very much. Great to have you with us. Today we're delighted to report that Hyundai is announcing a major $5.8 billion investment in American manufacturing. In particular, Hyundai will be building a brand new steel plant in Louisiana, which will produce more than 2.7 million metric tons of steel a year, creating more than 1,400 jobs for American steelworkers, and then there'll be major expansion after that. This will be Hyundai's first ever steel mill in the United States, one of the largest companies in the world, by the way, supplying steel for its auto parts and auto plants in Alabama and Georgia, which will soon produce more than 1 million American-made cars every single year. Cars are coming into this country at levels never seen before. Get ready. This investment is a clear demonstration that tariffs very strongly work, and I hope other things also, but the tariffs are bringing them in at levels that have not been witnessed. Hyundai will be producing steel in America and making its cars in America, and as a result, they'll not have to pay any tariffs. You know, there are no tariffs if you make your product in America, so it's something that's why so many people are coming. As you know, we have from Taiwan, the biggest chip manufacturer in the world, is coming in with $200 billion, and we have a lot of people coming and plants coming and companies coming that never would have been here, never would have even thought about it. The new steel plant in Louisiana is part of an even larger $21 billion investment Hyundai will be making in the United States over the next couple of years. The company will also be massively increasing its auto manufacturing in Georgia and investing billions of dollars in advanced American technology companies. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to ask the executive chairman to say a few words, and it's a great honor to have Hyundai, a truly great company. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak here today, and thank you for the invitation. And congratulations on the remarkable start to your new term.
It's been good.
All right. So Hyundai Motor entered the U.S. 1986. Since then, we have invested over $20 billion and now support more than 570,000 American jobs across all 50 states. Today, I'm pleased to announce an additional $21 billion in a new investment over the next 4 years, our largest U.S. invest ever. A key part of this commitment is our $6 billion investment to strengthen the U.S. supply chain from steel and parts to automobiles. We are especially excited about Hyundai Steel's multi-billion investment in a new facility in Louisiana, which will create 1,300 American jobs and serve as the foundation for a more self-reliant and secure automotive supply chain in the U.S. To mark this milestone, we are honored to visit President Trump alongside Governor Landry and Speaker Johnson and Leader Scalise, deepening our partnership with the United States and reinforcing our shared vision for American industrial leadership. And this week, we are also proud to open our new $8 billion auto plant in Georgia. With this, our U.S. vehicle production will exceed 1 million units per year, as President mentioned. our decision to invest in Savannah, Georgia, creating more than 8,500 American jobs, was initiated during my meeting with President Trump in Seoul in 2019. And after that, 2020 in Davos, well, I mentioned about the new plant. So American Jobs was initiated during at that time. Now, as we proudly mark the completion of this transformative project, in coincides with the beginning of President Trump's second term, making this moment even more special. Yeah. Furthermore, HMG will purchase $3 billion worth of U.S. LNG to support America's energy industry and enhance our energy security. All of these efforts will accelerate the localization of our supply chain in the U.S., expand our operations, and grow our American workforce. With your leadership, Mr. President, Hyundai Motor Group is proud to be a stronger partner in America's industrial future. I'd like to personally invite you to visit one of our state-of-the-art manufacturing facility and see firsthand our commitment to the United States and our American workers. So thank you to our American partners and employees and communities. We are really proud to stand with you and proud to be build the future together. Thank you.
I thought maybe we have a great speaker and we have two very good friends, Mike and Steve, and we come from a certain state that we're talking about right now that we love. And I've done very well there. I've always won by a lot. I love that state, so I was happy to hear about it. That's why I said, come on over. But Mike, would you and Steve like to say a few words, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. We're excited. It was mentioned earlier what a great start we've had to your second term, and we're just getting started. Everyone should know that. There'll be more of this because it's the policies that are bringing about the great growth, and it's about leadership. And we have a strong new leader back in the White House. It makes a big difference because everybody around the world is seeing that, and everyone around the country is applauding it. We were on district work period last week, and Steve Scalise and I and our colleagues were traveling around the country doing campaign events, raising money, doing all the things that are necessary to ensure that we keep the House majority for the Republican Party. And I'll just tell you, I was in multiple states over the last week, and everywhere I went, Mr. President, people are excited. There's this great sense of relief, almost euphoria out there, because they know that America's back. This is the America First agenda. We're so grateful for these great friends with Hyundai to invest in Louisiana. We have extraordinary leadership on the state level, and leadership makes a big difference. We're so grateful to be a part of this. We want to tell you all, this is a great investment in Louisiana and in America. More to come. Thank you so much. Steve?
Well, thank you again, Mr. President, for opening up the White House to this great group. Governor Landry has brought the same kind of energy to the governor's mansion in Louisiana that President Trump has brought to the nation in the White House. Some people marvel at President Trump's stamina. Over the weekend, both Saturday and Sunday, we spoke by phone on some different legislative initiatives that we're working on with Speaker Johnson to continue moving the agenda forward. Those very things that President Trump ran on, he's delivered for the American people. And this announcement by Hyundai is one more example of how that agenda that President Trump ran on to make America first again is working for the American people. When you talk about 1,300 plus really good jobs in Louisiana, those are all American workers. That's billions of investment coming in from Hyundai into the United States that would not have been here without President Trump's leadership. And I think people know that, they see it. It's been a long time coming, but we applaud the work that Hyundai is doing with Governor Landry to come to our state. But for President Trump, we're seeing this all across the nation, and we're just getting started. A lot more to come, Mr. President. Thank you.
Do you have any questions, please? Yeah, please.
The size of the investment, partly because of tariffs. On April 2nd, the reciprocal tariffs will go into effect. Is it truly reciprocal? Are there some countries that might get a break, or some sectors that might get a break?
Well, I may give a lot of countries breaks, but it's reciprocal, but we might be even nicer than that. We've been very nice to a lot of countries for a long time. But I call it Liberation Day. April 2nd is Liberation Day. But today, as you know, we did something with respect to Venezuela. You heard about that. And that will be quite important. We'll be announcing some additional tariffs over the next few days, having to do with automobiles, cars, and having also to do a little bit with lumber down the road, lumber and chips. We're going to get all those chip companies coming back. They're already coming back without even doing it. So it's been very good. But we'll be announcing some others. But for the most part, April 2nd will be a big day. That'll be Reciprocal Day. And we'll be bringing some of the money back that's been taken from us. Let's be nice by using the word taken. I don't want to use a stronger word because these guys are professional politicians and they don't like to hear those words. I refuse to use the word stolen from us, but that's a...
Mutually bring down tariffs? Are you seeing that?
Oh, it happened. Well, the European Union lowered their tariffs to 2.5%. We were only at 2.5% for cars, which is very low. And as you probably heard, the European Union lowered their number from much higher than that, many, many times higher. Surprised to 2.5%, so that was good. But I don't know that I expect that. It's up to them. But we have reciprocal tariffs.
Mr. President, your reaction to the story in the Atlantic that said that some of your top cabinet officials and aides had been discussing very sensitive material through Signal and included an Atlantic report of that. What is your response to that?
I don't know anything about it. I'm not a big fan of the Atlantic. To me, it's a magazine that's going out of business. I think it's not much of a magazine, but I know nothing about it. You're saying that they had what?
They were using Signal to coordinate on sensitive materials.
Having to do with what? Having to do with what? What were they talking about?
The Houthis.
The Houthis, you mean the attack on the Houthis? Well, it couldn't have been very effective because the attack was very effective, I can tell you that. I don't know anything about it. You're telling me about it for the first time. Anybody else?
This announcement on Hyundai, is this a blueprint for you, for other automakers, to come to the United States to do what Hyundai was doing and investing so much in Louisiana and creating these new jobs?
Absolutely. That's a nice question from you. That's a shocking question, how nice it is, huh? That's okay. That's a question, that's a good question, actually. Yeah, sure. Hyundai is a great company. We have other great companies coming in, and we have some that are going to be staying here and very much expanding. And we have tremendous interest in every business. I can't just say automobiles, but automobiles is a big one. And yeah, this is the beginning of a lot of things happening. We've had, as you know, Apple's announced a $500 billion investment, and other companies have announced 250, 300 billion. But we're well into the $3 and $4 trillion mark, which has never happened to our country before. What it really means is jobs. All we care about is jobs, right? We care about quality and quality of life and safety and security, but we care about jobs. And they're going to have we have a lot of people coming in.
I'm going to go to the next Governor Landry question, if you don't mind. How did you convince Hyundai to come to your great state? How did you convince them to come to Louisiana?
It was easy. I told them we were going to have a great president this year, right? Look, again, I think that this is Americans seeing the American First policy in action, right? It's not just promises, it's about action. And not only and I appreciate their patience because all last year, many of these legislators, the Speaker and the Senate President, we worked on making Louisiana as friendly for business as the President is making America. We worked on public safety, we worked on educational reform, which the President's been working on. We worked on tax reform, historic tax reform. And what I can tell you is to echo what the President said, in Louisiana right now, I believe before the summer's over, we'll have $50 billion worth of construction projects going on in Louisiana. That is a record, Mr. President. It has never happened under any other president, under any other administration, and I can only look at the leadership that he has brought, not only to the White House, but to the world as well. And so to have these executives come here and say, hey, we want to invest in America, because for decades now, what Americans have seen is jobs being offshored rather than onshored. And today's announcement is exactly that. This is a message for all America that this president and their governors out there care about the American worker.
And I have to tell you that if you have any trouble getting permits, which you won't, come see me, I'll get them for you. but you're not gonna have any trouble. You know, we had, when I first got involved in this world of politics, when I went down to Louisiana, you know, the two big LNG plants, and they were stuck for 14 years. They tried to get permits, and these were 12 billion and I think $15 billion plants. And they were working on it for 14 years in one case, I think 13 or 14 in the other. And I was able to get them in less than a week. And they were shocked. And probably some consultant got a lot of money for doing it, but nobody spoke to me about it. Other than this gentleman at the time, he mentioned it, and he did. They were in very much different positions, but they wanted to see if we could break the logjam, and I got it done in one case, I actually got it done in one day, and the other case, I didn't do as well. It took a full week. And they built and they're up and they're very successful now. That was a long time ago, but we got it done immediately. You'll have no trouble getting your permits, I guarantee. These people you're dealing with are top of the line. Okay? But just in case. Oh.
Venezuela tariffs that you announced earlier today, sir.
Yes.
You said 25% for any country that does business.
That's right.
In Venezuela.
If they buy their oil from Venezuela, they have to pay a 25% tariff to do business with the United States.
On top of existing tariffs, so for example, China.
Yes, that would be on top of existing.
45%
That would be,
from China.
that's on top of existing tariffs, yes.
So also next week, April 2nd, as you said, Liberation Day. Is that going to be sector tariffs as well as reciprocal tariffs?
It's going to be everything, yeah. It's going to be everything, but not all tariffs are included that day. For instance, we'll do some, as you know, we have already done steel and aluminum, and that's at a 25% level. And we are going to be doing automobiles, which you've known about for a long time. We'll be announcing that fairly soon, over the next few days probably. And then April 2nd comes, that'll be reciprocal tariffs. But we may take less than what they're charging because they've charged us so much, I don't think they could take it. In other words, they've charged us so much that I'm embarrassed to charge them what they've charged us, but it'll be substantial. And you'll be hearing about that on April 2nd. And it will be Liberation Day because we'll be taking in large amounts of money for our country, and that's lower taxes and all other things that are good, and jobs, a lot of jobs.
And the big corporate clients of the big law firms that you targeted with your executive orders, do you want those big corporate clients to find new lawyers?
I just think that the law firms have to behave themselves. And we've proven that. We have others that want to make a settlement also. They, having to do with the election and other things, they behave very badly, very wrongly. And I appreciate the one, you know, these are the biggest firms. And they all came back realizing that they did wrong. And that's why they're doing this. So I just think they have to behave. We have to straighten out our country. We have to straighten out our elections. Our elections are very dishonest, very corrupt, and we have to straighten it out. And it's so easy to do. And we should go to paper ballots. We should go to one-day voting. We should go to voter ID. And just one other thing, proof of a thing called citizenship in the United States. Wouldn't that be nice? How simple does that sound? Proof of citizenship, voter ID, one day, voting and paper ballots. You know, paper ballots are very secure. They have watermark paper. It's very intricate stuff. It's very technologically advanced, even though it's paper. And you'd have no trouble. You wouldn't have dishonest elections, and you'd have them all done by 10 o'clock in the evening. You know, France went to that, and not that I want to copy anybody, but many others have also. And they had 38 million votes, and it was all done at 10 o'clock. They had a winner, they had a loser, that was it. Nobody was complaining. And they had it backed up with paper. And it's so easy to do. The other thing, you'd save about, this would cost you about 8% of what the machines cost. So the paper would be much less expensive. So if you're looking to save some money, that's a good way to save it. So it's a shame that we've gone through it. We've gone through a bad election, really bad election. The election was so bad. And think of it, you wouldn't have had the October 7th disaster, Israel. You wouldn't have had Russia and Ukraine, because that would have never happened. You wouldn't have had inflation. You wouldn't have had the type of withdrawal from Afghanistan that you witnessed, which was probably one of the primary reasons that Russia went into Ukraine. They saw that mess, how badly it was handled, and they said, wow, this is a paper tiger. It was handled by incompetent people. But that wouldn't have, we would have been out, but we would have kept Bagram, the big air base, which is 1 hour away from China, where they make their nuclear weapons. Would have been nice to have it, but now, you know who has it? Now China has it. And so an honest election, and we wouldn't have had inflation. You know, you had the
record-setting inflation, we wouldn't have had inflation. I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to congratulate Hyundai, a great company, and we will do everything possible. And I will say you picked a fantastic state. You're really with tremendous people and tremendous leaders. And Speaker, I want to thank you for doing a great job. You and Steve, thank you very much. Appreciate it, Steve. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Hey, President Trump, alongside members of Hyundai, making that investment known, where Hyundai says that they are going to be investing a fresh $20 billion into the U.S. With new plants as well as investing in American jobs. So you're watching live now from Fox, everyone. We appreciate everyone continuing to join us. We showed you that event from President Trump without commercial interruption. And what we'll do right now is that event ends. We'll take our final break here of the hour on Live Now from Fox.
Mirror joy, the overwhelming relief after Miralax helps you go. Miralax works naturally with the water in your body, putting you in a supernaturally good mood. Miralax, free your gut to free your mood.
When paying with Cash App Card feels pro, because you have rounders turned on.
Give me 17 cents on Bitcoin.
Here's the White House, where we have President Trump about to sign some executive orders at inside the Oval Office, and here we go. Let's listen in on Live Now.
We have some important signings today and some important statements to make about what we're doing in the world of medicine, Bobby and the group, and maybe Will do something which will be very enlightening, and I think people are going to like it. But it was a little gift that's being presented, so Will, do you want to take over?
Yes, sir. So earlier today, the House of Representatives transmitted this over for you. This is a record of the Electoral College votes in the 2024 election. It shows your total of 312 votes. And the letter opener at the bottom of this frame display is actually one of the letter openers that was used to open the electoral votes during the counting.
That's great. How many votes did the other side get?
Less than you, sir. Significant.
By how much?
I don't want to get this wrong. It was 226.
But the news said it was going to be the other way around.
The news said it was going to be a lot
No,
closer.
they said that it was going to be a lot closer than that. It wasn't close. So 312, 226, that's pretty good. Okay, that's good. Thank you. Thank them for me. That's very nice.
Yes, sir. We'll tell the speaker. We have a number of executive orders for your attention today, sir. The first relates to gain-of-function research. Gain-of-function research is a type of medical research where pathogens are adulterated viruses or adulterated to make them more potent or to change the way that they function. Many people believe that gain-of-function research was one of the key causes of the COVID pandemic that struck us in the last decade. What this executive order does, first of all, it provides powerful new tools to enforce the ban on federal funding for gain-of-function research abroad. It also strengthens other oversight mechanisms related to that issue and creates an overarching strategy to ensure that biomedical research in general is being conducted safely and in a way that ultimately protects human health more.
It's a big deal. Could have been that we wouldn't have had the problem we had.
A lot of people say that, sir.
If we had this done earlier. Thank you. Okay, good.
Many actions that you've taken so far in this administration, sir, are related to onshoring manufacturing and onshoring supply chains. One of the most important supply chain issues we currently face as a country is our pharmaceutical supply chain. This is an executive order intended to promote domestic manufacturing of pharmaceuticals. It streamlines the permitting processes that go into building domestic pharmaceutical manufacturing sites. It centers a lot of the environmental permitting process, which is quite significant within the EPA, and it takes other actions designed to ensure that we're bringing pharmaceutical jobs and pharmaceutical manufacturing back to the United States of America.
Okay, good. That's what it's all about, right? Very important. We're going to have a big announcement next week on some of this kind of thing, but more related to costs. the cost of medicines and drugs. We're being ripped off, as you know, very badly, being ripped off compared to the rest of the world. Go ahead.
Next, we have a series of proclamations for your attention, sir. This is a proclamation declaring National Mental Health Awareness Month. Mental health and that basket of issues has been a major priority for Secretary Kennedy since he got into office. It's been a major priority for your administration. This is just a proclamation declaring this month to be National Mental Health Awareness Month.
See, no auto pen. Isn't it nice? Isn't it nice to have a president that doesn't need an auto pen, so that somebody that you have no idea who the person is, who's actually the president of our country, they look into that auto pen stuff. That's not right, what took place for 4 years. Very important. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Next, this is another proclamation declaring this week to be National Small Business Week. As you've said many times before, small business is actually big business. Small businesses are key drivers of the American economy. Your administration has taken quite dramatic steps to improve small business, to help small businesses. This is just a proclamation that recognizes those efforts and announces the National Small Business Week.
Good. Before I go further, I'd like to just, as you see behind me, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is doing a fantastic job. Director Jay Bhattacharya, National Institute of Health, and a very special person. I interviewed him personally. I liked him immediately. I interviewed a lot of people. I liked him. Dr. Martin McCary, likewise, FDA commissioner, who's really in there plugging hard, right? So we have some big things coming up, and Will, everybody knows. So I just wanted to thank all of you. Vince Yelley's around here someplace. Where's Vince? Vince is great. Come on up here, Vince. You should be up here. He's been with me for a long time. He's an expert on policy and speech writing, too, along with Ross, right? Yes, sir. So great. It's good to have you all. Bobby, do you have anything to say? We signed some very important documents having to do with health.
Mr. President, a gain of function, this is an historic day, the end of gain of function research funding by the federal government and also controls by private corporations on gain of function studies. This was a kind of study that was engaged in by the United States military and intelligence agencies beginning in 1947. By 1969, the CIA said that they had reached nuclear equivalency, that they could kill the entire U.S. population for 29 cents a person. That year, President Nixon went to Fort Detrick and announced a unilateral end to this kind of research, what they call dual-use research, research that was for vaccination and also for military purposes. He then persuaded over 180 countries to sign the Bioweapons Charter in 1973. That basically ended gain-of-function research around the globe until 2002. Until 2001, after the anthrax attacks, we passed the Patriot Act, and the Patriot Act had a provision, a little-known provision in it, that said that although the Bioweapons Charter is still in effect, and the Geneva Convention is still in effect, U.S. federal officials who violate it cannot be prosecuted. And that relaunched a bioweapons arms race, and that was driven by gain-of-function research. In 2014, 3 of those bugs escaped from U.S. labs, and President Obama declared a moratorium on future use, and instead a lot of that research was moved offshore to the Wuhan lab. We have, and it launched bioweapons arms race all around the country, all around the world, so that China's engaged in it, developing all kinds of weapons using AI and CRISPR technologies that are really devastating. Russia is deeply engaged in it, Iran and many other countries. It's a kind of weapon that always has blowback. There's always bad news. And the justification for this kind of weaponry was, and these kind of research, was always that we have to do this to develop vaccines to counter a future pandemic. In all of the history of gain-of-function research, we can't point to a single good thing that's come from it. And today, I commend President Trump for his courage and his vision in ending U.S. bioweapons research. And Jay, I'd love you to talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, okay.
This is a historic day. The conduct of this dangerous gain-of-function research is aimed at taking pathogens and making them more virulent, more transmissible in humans. Many scientists believe is responsible for the COVID pandemic. The conduct of this research does not protect us against pandemics, as some people might say. It doesn't protect us against other nations. What it does is there's always a danger that in doing this research, it might leak out just by accident even, and cause a pandemic. Any nation that engages in this research endangers their own population as well as the world, as we saw during the COVID pandemic. This proclamation makes it so that most science is actually poses no threat to human populations. The vast majority of science can go on under this as normal. The fraction of this research that has the risk of causing a pandemic, harming every single person on the face of the earth, we're going to put this proclamation, this executive order puts in place a framework to make sure that the public has a say, that if such a risk is being taken, that only scientists alone won't be able to decide that. That in fact, the public can say, no, don't take this risk. And I'm really, really proud to be here with President Trump, who signed this order, ending this research, and for the first time putting in place a real regulatory framework to make it go away forever.
So it can leak out like from Wuhan, and a lot of people think that. I think I said that right from day one, leaked out, whether it was to the girlfriend or somebody else. But scientists walked outside to have lunch with a girlfriend, or was together with a lot of people. But that's how it leaked out, in my opinion, and I've never changed that opinion. So it can leak out innocently, stupidly, incompetently, but innocently, and half destroy the world. Right?
That's right. That's right. It's
Mr. President, there are, I think, 3 leaks from BSL-3 and BSL-4 labs, our highest rated laboratories almost every week. There's no laboratory that does this right. There's no laboratory that's immune from leaks, and this is going to prevent those kind of inadvertent leaks from happening in the future and endangering humanity. The COVID outbreak cost 20 million lives and cost the world at least $25 trillion. And this executive order is a precaution against us being involved in that kind of research in the future.
That's great. Very honored to do this. Marty, what do you have to say?
Yeah, it's unbelievable to think the entire nightmare of COVID was likely preventable. And you had good instincts early on, Mr. President, in suggesting it came from the Wuhan lab. That is now the leading theory among scientists. It was 5 miles from the hospital where it first broke out. So it's crazy to think that this entire nightmare was probably the result of some scientists messing with Mother Nature in a laboratory with technology exported from the United States that is inserting a furin cleavage site. So I hope this does some good in the world, Mr. President. Thank you for doing it.
Anybody have any questions on that? Yes, please.
Can you speak to concerns people are having regarding your administration cutting $1 billion in mental health programs for
Well,
schools?
we're looking very closely at waste, fraud, and abuse, of which there's tremendous amount. People that shouldn't be on, illegal immigrants, on people that came into the country illegally. We have many of them, and we're looking for that. But for the population that's supposed to be there, it's perfecto. And they want us to do that. They don't want to have the waste, the fraud, and the fraud is big, by the way, or the abuse. question? Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I actually have a question for Secretary Kennedy, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
You mentioned the anthrax attacks of 2001. At Zero Hedge, we're working on a piece revisiting that, and I've heard you speak, given the questions that I've heard you raise in the past.
Well, we're not at this moment going back. I mean, the FBI has already done an extensive investigation. They said that the anthrax was Ames anthrax. It came from a U.S. lab. Their accusation was that it was released by a scientist called Bruce Ivins, who subsequently committed suicide. There are many people who believe that Bruce Ivins was falsely accused and that it was somebody else in the lab. It's not something that we're currently investigating, but it's something that the FBI, the fact that it came from a U.S. lab is something the FBI determined.
Relax works naturally with the water in your body. Free your gut to free your mood.
Yeah, please.
There's been several Maha-aligned bills being proposed throughout the country, and I wanted to know what your thought was on that and the progress that Secretary Kennedy is making, first. And second, when you, no, I'm sorry, let's answer.
You want to go ahead?
I mean, we've had a wave. I think we have MAHA legislation now in 36 states. In the past 2 or 3 weeks, I've been to Arizona, to Utah, to West Virginia, to Indiana, to sign SNAP waivers to get candy and soda off of SNAP, to change the school lunch program so that we're feeding our kids food instead of food-like substances that are made in laboratories, and to do a number of other initiatives that are being passed that are being driven by local MAHA movement inspired by the president, and that are being signed into law by various governors. And we're very, very grateful for that. We've invited Brooke Rollins and myself have invited the governors of all the states to apply for SNAP waivers so we make sure that the supplemental nutrition assistance program is actually paying for nutrition and not sodas. 10% is now going to soda. There's no nutrition in a soda.
And at the same time, you have like 19 attorneys general suing you and the Trump administration. Like, what do you make of that?
Who are they? Are they Democrats? Are they Democrats? Like crooked Democrats? Like really crooked Democrats? Is that who's suing? They know what they're doing.
And what do you
They're just hurting our country. These are very dishonest people. They've lost their way. They've lost their confidence. They have no confidence. They have no idea what they're doing. They don't even know what they're suing for. So it's just one of those things. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, on the pharmaceutical side, have you made any determination on kind of what those tariff rates may look like and the timing of those?
I have. I'll announce it over the next 2 weeks. Okay. Well, Liz.
Oh, sorry.
Do you have anything to say about this, Maureen? What we just discussed?
We have had this crazy system in the United States where American pharma manufacturers in the United States are put through the ringer with inspections. And the foreign sites get off easy with scheduled visits while we have surprise visits in the United States. Well, a scheduled visit is no inspection. So we are at the FDA delivering on this promise in the president's executive order and switching from announced to surprise inspections overseas. We're also not going to have our inspectors hanging out for 3 or 4 weeks. They're going to get in and out, and we're going to do more inspections with the same resources as a result.
Good. Good.
I think it's very, very important that Americans have a drug supply, a pharmaceutical supply that they can count on. We saw during the COVID pandemic that the reliance on overseas production of pharmaceuticals led to the shortages of essential medicines, and that's happened over and over again. Making America produce the drugs that it's long been able to produce is a huge priority, and this executive order that the president just signed is going to make that possible.
Vince, you're a big policy person. It's so great for me. So, what do you think?
Well, sir, you've always said it's vitally important that we have national self-sufficiency when it comes to critical pharmaceuticals. We learned that in 2020. It was a key campaign promise. We've seen shortages in the past of critical cancer drugs, people on chemotherapy. We have to produce those here at home, and this is an important contribution to doing that.
Thank you. Any questions of them? Okay.
Just two more, sir. We have a slate of 39 Senate-confirmed senior officials of your administration. This slate includes a significant number of new U.S. attorneys. Those will be the top prosecutors in judicial districts around the country, will prosecute crime and help advance your agenda.
Okay, it's a lot of people, and they're very good people. I hope. Who knows? I hope so. Okay, thank you.
And then lastly, sir, we have another proclamation. This week is National Hurricane Preparedness Week. This is an issue that's particularly important, obviously, to your home state of Florida. This is just a proclamation recognizing National Hurricane Preparedness Week 2025.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. I want to thank you. So we're going to be having some conferences next week. I'll also be going to Saudi Arabia and other places, going to UAE and Qatar. And some of you will be going with us. An interesting time. But I think we're going to have another conference next week, which will be very important, having to do with the world of the medical. And I think it'll be very productive. These are really very important that we signed today, and thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much. Thank you.
We just moved into our new home and received the most amazing housewarming. Spoonful of comfort. From the second we opened the package, we're blown away by everything that was inside. And the most thoughtful note from our neighbors. Not only was the soup delicious, but it was packed with so many other things, like bowls and cookies that are amazing. If you want to make your housewarming gift truly amazing, you can't go wrong with Spoonful of Comfort.
Thank you very much. We're going to have a little session today on the ambassadors, a group of people that were selected. They're doing very well, but very far along in the process. And they can each introduce themselves and talk about the country that they're going to. Might say a little bit about themselves also, because people are very interested in that. We're also going to sign right now some executive orders, and Will, if you come forward, I'll start thinking about signing that, right?
A few things for you today, sir. First, we have a pardon for Devin Archer. Devin Archer was a former business partner of the Biden family. He's was prosecuted relating to a fraud investigation, but notably, the tone and tenor of that prosecution changed dramatically after he began to cooperate with congressional investigators and serve as a witness against Hunter Biden and the Biden family. We believe that was an injustice, and therefore we're asking you to pardon him.
And many people have asked me to do this. I think he was treated very unfairly. And I looked at the records, studied the records, and he was a victim of a crime, as far as I'm concerned. So we're going to undo that. All right. That's Devin Archer. Congratulations, Devin.
Next, sir, we have a presidential memorandum for your attention. This memorandum requires the immediate declassification of all FBI files relating to the Crossfire Hurricane investigation. This was obviously one of the instances of the weaponization of law enforcement powers of prosecution against you and others. We believe that it's long past time for the American people to have a full and complete understanding of what exactly is in those files.
Which gives the media the right to go in and check it. You probably won't bother because you're not gonna like what you see. But this was total weaponization. It's a disgrace. Should never happen in this country. But now you'll be able to see for yourselves, all declassified. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All declassified?
Yes, sir.
Everything?
The FBI filed with there's a classified annex, but other than that, we'll put everything in the public eye.
Is anybody going to look? What about you? You gonna look? And frankly, the FBI should be ashamed of themselves, and so should the Department of Justice, and so should Biden.
Next, we have an executive order for your attention. We've taken action against a number of law firms that have participated either in the weaponization of government, the weaponization of the legal system for political ends, or otherwise engaged in illegal or inappropriate activities. The law firm of Jenner and Block is one of these law firms. This is a law firm that, as you know, employed Andrew Weissman after he came off of the Mueller investigation. It's a law firm that's engaged in invidious racially and sexually discriminatory practices. It's also a law firm that has participated in the weaponization of the legal system against American principles and values. And we believe that the measures in this executive order will help correct that.
And Andrew Weissman is the main culprit.
He's certainly
With respect to this,
he is one of a number of reasons that we believe this executive order is important.
he's a bad guy. Okay.
Next, sir, we have an executive order for your attention relating actually to government payments. Historically, checks issued by the Treasury are only 14 times more likely to become the subject of fraud than electronic transfer payments. This is an executive order that's going to push the Treasury Department to modernize its payment system to ensure that where possible they're using electronic methods of payment as opposed to paper checks in order to reduce waste, fraud, and abuse in the government, which is obviously an endeavor that we've been pursuing in numerous aspects of government under your leadership.
It's basically modernization of equipment and methods. And it's something that, really, I think he's going to be a great Secretary of the Treasury, wanted, Scott. And so we're doing this, and we have other modernization programs going on. We can let somebody else, whoever is next, whoever that may be, do it, but it's something that should have been done 25, 30 years ago.
Along similar lines, sir, this is an executive order we're calling Protecting America's Bank Account. The basic idea here is that instead of having lots of different departments and agencies and offices issuing payment, often without justification, often without any provided rationale, we're going to be centrally payment processes where possible in the Department of the Treasury and ensuring that measures are taken in Treasury against waste, fraud, and abuse to ensure that the money that's leaving the public Treasury is as protected as it possibly can be.
All right? Good. Many of these things should have taken place decades ago. Not all of them.
Lastly, sir, we have an executive order for your attention on the very important subject of election integrity. We believe that this executive order is the farthest reaching executive action taken in the history of the Republic to secure our elections. Among numerous other aspects of this executive order, this is going to cut down on illegal immigrants on the voter rolls, ensure that the Department of Homeland Security and the data that they have available is being fully weaponized to ensure that illegal immigrants aren't voting. This will include a citizenship question on the federal voting form for the first time. This executive order instructs the EAC to cut federal funding to states that don't take reasonable steps to secure their election. This calls on the Department of Justice to vigorously prosecute election crimes, particularly in states that we don't believe are in compliance with federal law around election integrity. I could go on and on for a while, sir, but the compliance with national election day rules, cracking down and investigating and prosecuting foreign interference in our elections, revoking President Biden's Executive Order 14019, which essentially weaponized government to corrupt and pollute our election process. There's a lot in here, but we believe that these are very important steps that we need to be taking as an administration in your direction to ensure that our elections are as secure as they possibly can be.
Okay, you all understand that? Yes. Direction for it. You heard the term? This will go a long way toward ending it. There are other steps that we will be taking in the coming weeks, and we think we'll be able to end up getting fair elections. Perhaps some people think I shouldn't be complaining because we're winning a landslide, but we're going to straighten out our election. This country is so sick because of the elections, the fake elections, and the bad elections.
We're going to straighten it out one way or the other.
And it's an honor to sign this one. Sign all of them. Sign this one as a great honor. So we're going to go around the room a little bit quickly, and we're going to introduce these very outstanding people that had, in all cases, outstanding careers, very incredible people that are going along as rapidly as the system can go along with, ahead of, I guess, anybody else thus far. So I want to thank John Thune, who's done a very good job. The whole Senate, we're being delayed as much as possible by Democrats, but that's standing. It gets to be just standing. But the process is moving along very quickly. So, Sergio,
Sergio Gorham, Director of Presidential Personnel. It's been an absolute pleasure again to know every one of you every step of this way. As the President said, I'm at a record pace. We have more nominees today from the Senate than at any previous point for 70. That's a record in 2 months. And Providence, we're determined to ensure the world has American First patriots in all of our posts.
Charles Kushner, I'm going to France and Monaco, and proud to serve under a great president of our country. Very proud.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
James Blair, honored to work here in the White House as Deputy Chief of Staff. And Mr. President, I think that all of these successful people in Monaco serve the United States under your leadership is a testament to your vision and leadership.
I'm David Perdue. I'm going to the People's Republic of China. It's my honor to represent President Trump, people of America, represent our interests and values in China.
I'm Ian Campbell. I'm going to represent the President in the Dominican Republic. Mr. President, thank you for the honor of serving me. Thank you.
Mike Walton, National Security Advisor, look forward to working with every one of you on behalf of the President and his leadership of security.
John Rigo. I'm going to the Republic of Portugal. I'm very excited to do so and serve my closest friend and one of the best presidents this country has ever had.
Kevin Cabrera, nominated for the Ambassador Panel. Truly is an honor to be part of your administration.
Javier, nominee to the Republic of Turkey. Delighted and honored to be with you, Mr. President, in a host country. This is one of the most ancient civilizations. We're in search for your peace, prosperity, and security. Thank you.
Mr. President. Mr. President, thank you. It's an honor. I'm Pete Hookster, you know that. But I am going to Canada. I look forward to serving you in Canada and your agenda.
Thank you. Paul Johnson, so thank you for the nomination to represent you and the United States to the United Mexican States. And I'm really encouraged by some of the conversations you've had with President Sheinbaum recently and to the increase in
Whitaker from Des Moines, Iowa. Proud to, since the firm will represent you with the North Atlantic Treaty Organization.
George Glass on my way to Japan. Previous administration I served for you in Portugal. It is a great honor to be able to do this the second time. Thank you for the opportunity.
My name is Ken Howery. I'm your nominee to be ambassador to the Kingdom of Denmark. Very close partner and ally. Served for you last time, Kingdom of Sweden. I want to thank you for the faith you place in me as your nominee.
President Trump, thanks for the honor of a lifetime. My name is Lucy Feinberg, and hopefully I'll have the honor of serving in Luxembourg. And I think this is the greatest presidency, the greatest time in history, and it's always been.
Nicole McGraw, nominated to serve in Croatia, and it's such an honor to be here with you today and to serve you in the American Senate.
President Trump, thank you very much for your nomination for the public utility. Let me say, Portugal is so thankful for everything.
That man knows more about the border than anybody.
Mr. President Brian First, confirm I'll be representing you at OEC. The Catholics are very proud of your work. Your team's doing an excellent job, so thank you. We're very honored to serve.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again for the honor, the greatest privilege. My name is Summer Sparkus. I will serve this great man in the Republic of Malta. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. Joe Hopple from Dallas, Texas. Very proud to serve you at the Kingdom of the Netherlands, the very first country to recognize the United States Day. Thank you.
Mr. President, I'm confirmed I will be representing you in the state of Israel. It will be an extraordinary honor, and you've done more for Israel than any president in any time of its history. We are grateful. I'm hoping I'll get to be there by Passover.
Thank you, Mike. And Mike is an outstanding guy. Mike, I think he's going to do wonders for Israel. He actually probably gets along with both sides, and that'll be interesting to see. But the world is watching you, Mike. So good luck. Good luck. You're going to do well. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, thank you for this great honor to serve the Republic of Italy and San Marino. I'm so looking forward to going over there and working with that great ally. And for the pleasure to serve you. Your staff has been great working with us, and you've done a great job, and we really appreciate it. And thank you, sir, for pushing this along.
A really good time.
I'm Warren Stevens from Little Rock, Arkansas. I have the honor to represent the President of the United States. It's a great recognition for Northern Ireland, and being chosen to go to such an important ally of ours. Looking forward to it, but thank you for the honor.
You're going to do fantastic. These are tremendously successful people, and we two guys are going to get like Mike. I think they have a little more money than Mike, but he's got some other advantages. He's got some others, like upstairs, he's got some big advantages. Very exciting. Very exciting to have all of you. Would you have any questions, media, for the people that you just saw? So outstanding, and I thought it would be nice to bring them before you. So if you have any questions, please.
I want to ask about the talks with Saudi Arabia. It sounds like there's some progress on the Black Sea ceasefire. Could you update us on that? What happens now?
So we've made a lot of progress on two fronts, on both sections that we call sections, but they're much more than that, Russia, Ukraine, and also the Middle East. And we'll see what happens. We're in deep discussions with Russia and Ukraine. And I would say it's going well. It's a situation we should have never had to even think about. Should have never happened. And the Middle East, that's been going on for a lot of years. Centuries and centuries, it just keeps going. And we are making a lot of progress. So that's all I can report. But some very, very big talks are going, and detailed talks are going on right now on both fronts.
Mr. President, you said that your national security advisor learned a lesson after a reporter.
Mr. President, the ceasefire agreement that was broken today allows for third-party countries to help implement
implement the agreement. What does that look like and who's going to be involved?
The ceasefire agreement.
Yes, the environmental ceasefire agreement between Russia and Ukraine.
Well, they're gonna get together, look, it's, they agreed to something and it got broken, there's tremendous animosity, there's a lot of hatred, as you can probably tell. And it allows for people to get together, mediate it, arbitrate it, and see if we can get it stopped, and I think it will. It'll get stopped.
Will the agreement work with to help implement and monitor that
We
ceasefire?
have other countries involved, and they're involved very strongly in the process, and that'll be resolved. That's actually, as bad as it is, that's the least of the problems. So we'll get that resolved. And we are being aided by other countries too. Yes, please.
Yes. Tomorrow, the subcommittee on DOGE is going to review funding for NPR and PBS. Now, every Republican president has always promised to take away this money that's going to these two public news outlets. If they're successful, I know Senator Kennedy has backed it, Martin Taylor Greene in Congress has backed it. Would you be interested in defunding and taking away taxpayer dollars to NPR and PBS?
Well, I would love to do that. I think it's very unfair. It's been very biased, the whole group, a whole group of them. And frankly, there's plenty, look at all the media you have right now. There's plenty of coverage. Those that are from a different age, and they spend more money than any other network of its type ever conceived. So the kind of money that's being wasted, and it's a very biased view, that better than anybody. And I'd be honored to see it end. We're well covered. Look at all the people that we have here today. We're well covered, but we don't need it, and it's a waste of money. Especially, I don't even know what DOGE's recommendation is. I assume their recommendation is to close them up.
Well, after they hear all the testimony, I think they're going to make a decision relatively sooner than later. We'll see what happens.
I can't imagine that they wouldn't. They have found so much waste, fraud, and abuse. Hundreds of billions of dollars, and just waste, fraud, abuse. You heard yesterday some of the new things that were found. 22 billion just in environment. Billion. You know, if you had 22 million more, it would be nice, but 22 billion put into environmental accounts. One was 2 billion into one account, Stacey Abrams, where they had $100 in the account. And just before I came in, they put $2 billion. And you guys are looking, so you mean 2 million or maybe 200,000 of $2 billion were put in the account. What do you think of that, Mike? Do you think that's a straight deal? 2 billion?
Just write me the check, Mr.
It's a horrible thing. We have so many of those things, so they've done an incredible job. The country wants to hear it. I think DOGE is actually very popular because of what's happening. They're hearing about all of these scams and for big, big money. Tremendous amount. When you add it up, just hundreds of billions of dollars being wasted, and much of it's fraud. You know, we talk about waste, and it is waste and abuse, but a lot of it's fraud. Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
I just want to follow up on that. If Planned Parenthood is defunded, would you look into the harvesting of baby organs that they've done throughout the years and maybe go out against the criminal prosecution?
Well, I think you're talking about a subject that is a heated subject, and we'll look into it. We'll look into everything, but that's certainly a subject that's been debated for a long time, and we will look into it. Yeah.
Mr. President, some senators have expressed hope that the White House will support a conversation package to codify with the DOGE cuts into law. Where is the White House stand on that? Are you making progress?
So which package?
Conversation package to codify with the DOGE cuts into law.
You know what? That would be great. I think we're going to do that. I think they're going to do it. I think we're also going to be codifying a lot of the executive orders that we've done, which have been very popular. And we're looking at one, I will tell you right now, that I think perhaps will be controversial to come with the people, and that's sanctuary cities. We're going to end sanctuary cities for some of these jurisdictions that aren't cooperating with law enforcement. They're guarding criminals. They're taking the rights away from the citizens of this state and this city. And we're going to be ending sanctuary cities if we find it necessary to do in certain major areas. And we may just end the entire thing altogether because it's just a way of protecting criminals. And nobody else is benefited by that. And for some reason, Democrats
shield criminals from being sent back to their countries or being sent to prison. And in the meantime, the crime rate has gone through the roof. Under Biden, it was through the roof. It's starting to come down, but we're taking a lot of people out of here. So we may be presenting you very shortly with a executive order ending sanctuary cities.
Mr. President, are you going to change any of the practices that your national security officials used after a reporter was inadvertently added to a group chat about attacks on Yemen?
Well, I think it's a question I've been asked now and given few answers, and they've all been the same. We have an amazing group. Our national security now is stronger than it's ever been. We have had a very, very successful, numerous attacks on that area. These are people that shoot down ships, not only our ships, ships all over the world are shooting down right around the water and damaging them badly, or they're going down. They're also shooting anything that happens to be flying in the area. We hit them very, very hard. There was no classified information, as I understand it. They used a app, you want to call it an app, that a lot of people use, a lot of people in government use, a lot of people in the media use. And I think I'll ask Mike is here. You want to respond to that?
Yes, Mr. President, you asked about lessons. I think there's a lot of lessons.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut off the live, man, but can you guys imagine, could you guys imagine Kamala Harris sitting with this group of people and literally just answering questions that the media is asking? And they're not asking biased questions. These are the hardest hitting questions that they can ask. Can you imagine Biden doing that again? As a matter of fact, I can't even remember one time when he had all of his cabinet with him taking questions from the public. They're off doing their own thing. They're off stealing money. They're off pocketing money, false accounts, just like the president says. Billions of dollars in waste. And then they tell you that they ain't got no money for you for Social Security. I want to see a president that's transparent. Not transparent enough where they tell us everything, because there's national security, but transparent enough to let me know what's going on. Talk to me. Don't pretend like I'm an idiot. I elected you, so speak to me. And this is what President Trump represents, the simplicity of government. Instead of acting like government is so unreachable and untouchable and they're so important, and that the things that they deal with, we don't understand. Break it down to where the common guy can turn on the TV and look at the news and say, you know what? I see what he's trying to do. I can understand it. And you can tell, obviously there's a lot they're not telling us, because there's not everything we're supposed to know. I used to be in law enforcement. And if you really know what goes on in your neighborhood at night times, you wouldn't be able to sleep. You really would not be able to sleep. So I appreciate a president like this that comes forward and speak to the public and be transparent enough for us to understand what they're doing. People want to see results ASAP. Or why is egg not $1 a dozen? Or why gas price is not 50 cents? Where was all those questions for 4 years? Under Barack Obama, under Joe Biden, and the last half of Kamala Harris presidency, quote unquote. Don't come questioning the man, ask him about what has he done. He's doing way more than the last president combined with all 8 years of Barack Obama. So I appreciate it.
Journalists in this city who have made big names for themselves, making up lies about this president, whether it's the Russia hoax or making up lies about Gold Star families. And this one in particular, I've never met, don't know, never communicated with, and we are looking into and reviewing how the heck he got into this room. But I'll tell you what, the world owes President Trump a favor. Under Biden, global shipping was shut down. Pinprick attacks, months between them, our destroyers being fired upon dozens of times. President Trump took decisive action with his national security team, took out the head missileer, knocked out missiles, knocked out headquarters, knocked out communication sites, and for once, as we hear, as you will all hear from every one of our allies, thank God for American leadership again. Thank God for American strength.
And you heard all the things that this man's saying. It's true. Biden was making us weak.
That was coordinating these efforts, as Director Ratcliffe testified today. His first day on the job, he was introduced to this app on his government systems at the CIA and at the State Department and otherwise. So, look, this journalist, Mr. President, wants the world talking about more hoaxes and this kind of nonsense rather than the freedom that you're enabling. And a key part of our sovereignty is open sea lanes and knocking the crap out of terrorists, which is exactly what your team and Pete Hegseth, a good friend and fellow veteran, is leading the charge on.
Amen.
We had a very, very successful evening, and we've had numerous successful evenings and days in that area. The Houthis are absolutely on the run. The worst of them have been killed. This should have been done a long time ago by Biden, but Biden was an incompetent president. He couldn't do anything. He didn't know where he was going. He had no clue. This guy had no clue. This should have been done a long time ago. As they shoot missiles at ships, randomly shoot missiles at ships, and they make their own missiles. You know, this is not an incompetent group of people. They make their own missiles. They get the missiles also from Iran. It's an offshoot of Iran. Another offshoot. You have Hamas, you have Hezbollah, you have the Houthis. You got a lot of stuff going on with Iran. And we sent a letter to Iran. You're going to have to be speaking to us one way or the other pretty soon because we can't let this happen. But that's an app that a lot of people use, and somebody got on. I'm going to happen to know the guy's a total sleazebag. The Atlantic is a failed magazine. It does very, very poorly. Nobody gives a damn about it. Just gives it a little bit of a shot. And I will tell you this, that they've made up more stories, and they're just a failing magazine. The public understands that. He's a very good man. That man is a very good man right there, and you criticize so strongly. He's a very good man, and he will continue to do a good job. In addition to him, we had very good people in that meeting, and those people have done a very, very effective job. And you're going to see it, and it goes on, by the way. It's going to go on. And I think the Houthis wish that it didn't happen, but that's what it's all about. We have to create a safe country, a safe world, and that's what we're doing.
National security was put at risk, Mr. President.
What kind of who?
Signal to communicate from senior officials.
Well, I don't know anything about Signal. I wasn't involved in this, but I just heard about it. And I hear it's used by a lot of groups. It's used by the media a lot. It's used by a lot of the military, and I think successfully. But sometimes somebody can get onto those things. That's one of the prices you pay when you're not sitting in the situation room with no phones on, which is always the best, frankly. But the best is to be there. In fact, oftentimes I've been in fact, just last week I was in the situation room with something very important, and we had a couple of people hooked up by line, and I said, cancel the line. Sorry, fellas, what you do is we'll tell you all about the meeting, because I know people do get on those lines, whether it's Signal or anything else. Yeah.
Are you going to change any procedures as a result of this?
Well, I mean, look, we look at everything, and, they've made a big deal out of this because we've had 2 perfect months. We are bringing in business, and we have another one announced tomorrow, a big one, very big. Like, in the history of our country, nobody's ever seen anything like it. And I think probably a lot of people are saying they started by saying it was the greatest first month that a president has ever had, and I think that's true. And now they say it's the best second month, and they had to find something. And this certainly will look at this, but the main thing was nothing happened. The attack was totally successful. It was, I guess, from what I understand, took place during, and it wasn't classified information. So this was not classified. Now, if it's classified information, it's probably a little bit different. But I always say you have to learn from every experience. I think it was very unfair the way they attacked Michael. He's a good person. The person that was on just happens to be a sleazebag, so maybe that's just coincidence. I don't know.
But you are
Would it be a problem if the Atlantic released all the text messages that are not classified?
Well, I don't know. I'd have to ask the military about that. Because, maybe you wouldn't want that. I don't know. I will say this, that from what I heard, the man that we're talking about, who's not somebody that I don't think most people have ever heard of, he found it very boring, and he left early. He got off the line very early. So I can't speak to it other than that, so he's made up a lot of stories, and you know, I think he's basically bad for the country, but it's a failing country, a very failing country. They're very upset, and a thing like this is publicity for them, but I don't think we should allow people that are very good, like that man sitting right at the end of the table who's done a great job. We shouldn't allow them to be hurt by it.
Can I follow up on that? Are you saying you're okay with the continued use of Signal by administration
No,
officials for
that's not what I
sensitive?
said. I said we'll look into it, but everybody else seems to be using it. It seems to be the #1 used device or app, whatever you want to call it, and we will certainly look. If it was up to me, everybody would be sitting in a room together. The room would have solid lead walls and a lead ceiling and a lead floor, but you know, life doesn't always let you do that. In the meantime, the attack itself that we were talking about and discussing has been an unbelievable success.
But you will conduct an investigation, is what you're saying into this.
We'll look into it, Chief.
Who's going to conduct that investigation?
I want to
Is
look
that
into
the FBI?
anything like that. I would ask them. It's not really an FBI thing. It's really something having to do with security. Security, like will somebody be able to break in? Are people able to break into conversations? And if that's true, we're going to have to find some other form of device. And I think that's something that we may have to do. Some people like Signal very much. Other people probably don't. But we'll look into it. I think, Michael, I asked you to immediately study that and find out. If people are able to break into a system, now in this case it wasn't that this attack was going on and nobody found out anything. And again, the person that was on, as I understand it, he left very early because he didn't find it very exciting. But I think it's something you should look into.
Yes, sir, we are. We have our technical experts looking at it. We have our legal teams looking at it. And of course, we're going to keep everything as secure as possible. No one in your national security team would ever put anyone in danger. And as you said, we've repeatedly said, the attack was phenomenal and is ongoing. But the media wants to talk about everything else except for the hostages you're getting out of the Middle East, Iran on its back foot, sea lanes getting reopened, peace in Europe. As we just saw today with the Black Sea ceasefire, we were just on with Steve Witkoff, myself, our team in Saudi Arabia. They want to talk about all this other stuff except for your amazing successes and the successes of your team.
One of the other things, and sometimes you have to move very quickly, and there are other devices that are very good, but they are very, very cumbersome, and you're not able to use them from a practical standpoint. So all we can do is find out the best we have with modern technology. They'll probably get better over the years. Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, on Black Sea, so the Kremlin has said that there are several conditions that will need to be met for this agreement to happen. This includes sanction relief for banks and some companies. Did the U.S. agree to all of those conditions that they laid out?
We will be looking at them, and we're thinking about all of them right now. There are 5 or 6 conditions. We're looking at all of them.
That signal chat, is it possible that there could be a firing of even a lower mid-level official once that person is
About what?
signal chat that using stuff?
We pretty much looked into it. It's pretty simple, to be honest. It's not, it's just something that can happen. It can happen, you can even prepare for it. It can happen. Sometimes people are hooked in and you don't know they're hooked in. They're hooked into your mind and they don't even mean bad by it. But it's not a perfect technology. There is no perfect technology. The really good ones are very cumbersome, very hard to access. And I think we're going to look at it. We always want to use the best technology. This was the best technology for the moment. But again, it wasn't classified, so they probably viewed it as being something that wasn't that important. And it obviously, with the attack being, I don't know if it's been read out to you yet, but that attack was a tremendous success for the U.S., tremendous success.
Who said the information was not classified? Do you think that Mike Waltz made a mistake and does he need to apologize?
No, I don't think he should apologize. I think he's doing his best. It's equipment and technology that's not perfect, and probably he won't be using it again, at least not in the very near future.
Sir, I agree with you. Let's get everybody in the room whenever possible.
Sometimes you find out defects by looking forward to using again. We may be forced to use it. You may be in a situation where you need speed as opposed to gross safety. And you may be forced to use it, but generally speaking, I think we probably won't be using it very much.
It simply depends on that train. It simply depends, Felix said, and J.D. Vance, the Vice President, said that the Europeans were freeloading. Do you agree with that assessment?
Do you really want me to answer it? Yeah, I think they've been freeloading. The European Union's been absolutely terrible to us on trade. Terrible. And as you know, NATO, I got them to pay hundreds of millions of dollars. They were way behind. And if you look if you look at Ukraine, so we're in for $350 billion because of Biden. Should have never happened, this war. Should have. All these dead people should not be dead. All these broken cities that are demolished down to the ground, those gorgeous towers, the most beautiful in the world, the most beautiful spires in the world. The spires in Ukraine were said to be the most beautiful of all. Just about every one of them is lying on its side in a million pieces. It's so sad to see what's happened to a heritage. No, I think when they say the European Union and you could say NATO also. Look, NATO, and I don't blame NATO for this. I don't blame Europe for this. I blame Biden for the fact that he didn't make them equalize. And to this day, I said to him, you got to catch up. You got to equalize. But why are they in for $100 billion and we're in for possibly $350 billion? It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. And you could say it's more important than that because we have an ocean in between. So it's one of those things. You'll be seeing Liberation Day. I call it Liberation Day in America. You're going to be seeing it on April 2nd. Didn't want to do it on April 1st for the obvious reason. April 2nd, but you'll be seeing tariffs. And I think I've been very fair. I have them set, but I think I've been very fair to countries that have really abused us economically for many, many decades.
So that information was not classified. Which of your national security advisors?
Just following up on your comments on the economy, there is reporting that consumer confidence fell for the fourth straight month. What is your message to Americans who are concerned
Well,
about?
I noticed that for the first time in like 50 years, right track, wrong track, we're on the right track. And I think people see that. And if you look at prices are way down. You know, when I first came here, the first time I met with you people officially, they were screaming at me about eggs. They said, I've been here for a week and I'm being yelled at about eggs. Egg prices have come down 45–50% in the last week and a half. And Secretary of Agriculture has done a great job, as you know, Brooke. She's done a fantastic job, and others working with her have done a great job. But we brought eggs down at a level that nobody thought we could get at. I inherited that situation, and I inherited a grocery situation. The groceries went way up, an old-fashioned word, but it's a very descriptive word. Groceries have gone through the roof. And I used to campaign on it. I used to say we're going to get groceries down, and we have got it down. I watched a certain newscast over the weekend, and a congressman, Democrat congressman, said, well, Trump's done a lot, I agree. He's been great on the border, he's been great on the military, but you know he hasn't brought prices down. That's false. Gasoline's way down. Eggs are way down. Groceries are down, very substantially, but down. Almost everything's down. Now, I'd like to see interest rates come down a little bit. And you're going to see billions of dollars, even trillions of dollars coming into our country very soon in the form of tariffs. Because we were abused by presidents. And frankly, in all fairness, it wasn't their expertise, but they had no idea what they were doing.
Do you think tariffs will create more jobs here in America?
Oh, yeah,
Which states?
It'll create a lot of money and more jobs. But if you look, so in the last, these gentlemen would know about it, and ladies, because some of the ladies are great businessmen in this room that are becoming ambassadors. Great, really great, top of the line. When you look at the number of companies that have said, like we're close to, I would say close to $4 trillion. We never had numbers like that. The number one chip maker in the world from Taiwan coming in with $200 billion. We have Apple. Look at Apple. $500 billion. $500 billion. They're going to build plants all over the United States. They were all being built in China. You have many, many companies, and maybe above all, you have the car companies coming in at levels that nobody's ever seen before. We have, Honda is opening up one of the biggest plants in the world in Indiana, and many car companies are coming in. We have AI. We're leading China by a lot in AI, and we're going to keep it that way because we've made it very good for them, and we're going to protect them once a year. We'll protect them through taxes, through incentives, and also through tariffs. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes, sir. First, we have a list of apartments and commutations relating to events that occurred on January 6th, 2020. I think this order will apply in approximately 15 minutes.
So this is January 6th. These are the hostages. Approximately 1,500 per apartment. Full park.
Full park or commutation?
Full park. We have about 6 commutations in there where we're doing further research. Nice to see you. So this is the big one.
All right, YouTube family. I'm gonna end the live there because this is something that I've showed already because I watched this live and I did it when I did it live. But thank you guys all for joining the live. I really appreciate every single one of you. Thank you guys very much. If you like the content that I put out, I normally do a lot of commentary while this is going on. I just kind of, just was watching because I was actually also doing something on the computer. But thank you guys for joining me. I normally cover content with politics. I love firearms, trucks, dogs, guns, you name it, I do it. And I appreciate you guys giving me your time. You guys could have been anywhere else, but you guys chose to spend some of your time with me. And with that said, guys, I want to wish you guys a happy weekend. May God bless all of you. May God bless the Republic. May God bless our president and everybody that wish our country well. God bless all of you guys. All right?